What is up, everyone? What is up? Happy Sunday. What's everyone been up to? I've got quite a few projects in the queue if no one's been paying attention to the Discord or the Matrix or the Blue Sky or the Mastodon. There's been quite a few things that are happening right now. So we've definitely got the LLM server going. Well, it's going to be built soon. I finished up and got the last pieces that I needed to have from Micro Center. I needed to get a different motherboard because originally I got an ITX motherboard and I needed a micro ATX motherboard because I realized the Realtek network interface cards are crap. I'm just going to put it out there. There's a lot of janky issues I came across that slapping an Intel NIC was just a lot easier. So, with an ITX board, all that could fit was the GPU for the TTS server, so I wanted a PCI Express X1 slot on top of it so I could do the TTS and have a dedicated Intel NIC rather than going and getting a more expensive motherboard. Luckily, the case I picked out for it was that size, so it's going to have a Ryzen 5500, 32 gigs of RAM, and an NVIDIA 1660 Super that I had left over for the TTS server, which is probably also going to be running my N8n automation server. So I'll be doing that in the near future. Then the LLM server is going to be running two different LLMs probably at the same time because there's two different GPUs. And it doesn't make sense to run one super powerful LLM and have it go through the PCI Express lane. Because then you have a limitation of it having to go back and forth versus just loading up on one GPU. So there's an NVIDIA 5060 Ti and an NVIDIA 3050, as I talked about before. Also going to have a Ryzen 5500 and 32 gigabytes RAM. If you're wondering why I got a Ryzen 5500 for both of the machines, simple. Micro Center had them for $70 each. $70, 6-core, 12-thread CPU, 5th generation Ryzen CPU, more than enough for $70 perfectly. They're both going to have 32 gigabytes of Corsair memory. Again, situation of they were on sale. It's DDR4. There weren't many selections out there because I'm just trying to keep the cost down for it because the main powerhouse of it is the 5060 Ti, and the reason why I went with that was it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, and it was still cheaper than a 5070 Ti, which ideally I want to get. If one of these days I happen to have enough cash, I'm deciding if I'm going to go with a 5090 or two 5090s and or an NVIDIA DGX Spark. I'm leaning towards the NVIDIA DGX Spark for LLM stuff. Now, as far as what LLMs I'm going to be doing, that I'm still deciding. I got to play with it, but there's probably going to be a 14B model on the 5060 Ti and probably a 7 or 8B on the 3050 with 8 gigabytes of VRAM. The reason why there's two is that I'm going to be running... well, one is going to be a little bit more capable of things. The other one is just going to be there for my social media automations that I've been doing. So it's going to be able to eventually read the articles that I have processing through my Penguin Overlord bot. And I want it to give a synopsis of each article, or essentially, at least on the low end, it's gonna go through all the news articles and generate a newsletter for me, for myself, at least. I'll see about expanding that, but at least the code will be there open sourced for the API connections to it. The smaller one is literally going to be there for when I go live on social media, as well as it's going to process the TTS, because eventually what I'm going to do is there's the tips.chiefgeek3d.com, which ties into Stream Elements, and it's going to do some analysis to see, is somebody doing, you know, slurs, derogatory messages. It's going to capture all those little things people trying to get around defenses, and then send it to a Discord channel with a human in the loop, so my moderators and I then can approve any TTS coming through to the stream, so we don't just allow them blanket in. So that should be nice. And then N8n will be doing some of the automations going on. They're not going to be super sophisticated LLMs because the machine specs are kind of limited. Chief has a bit for in review on stream. Oh yeah. Remember, it's not all just for today. It's partially for tomorrow. Because what I think I may be doing in the near future, because I stream 3 times a week, is we're going to be doing one day for dedicated gaming on Linux. It's been a while since I've done any gaming. So I'm thinking like Mondays and Tuesdays. I'll figure it out. So normally on Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays. But I'm thinking what I may do is like Wednesday will be a gaming night. Or Monday may be the gaming. We'll figure it out. And then I will be getting back into doing my movie nights on Saturday nights. I know I haven't been doing them for the past few weeks. There's been a lot going on. Oh, speaking of a lot going on, if you didn't see the little TikTok, and I will be following up with a YouTube video in the near future. Let me pull it up on the Discord server. But we got my Meshtastic solar node up. It has taken me a long time because the big problem was this stupid little cable here. Hey, thank you for the sub. I don't know why Stream Elements just cut out. But thank you for the sub there. Thank you. Zero Crash Ultra. Thank you for that. Oh, and you've been subbed for 3 months. That's great. It's been a whole season, buddy. 1 whole season. The season of geeks. Thank you for that. I don't know why the alert just went like derp. I don't know. Can I fix that? Damn it. That was annoying because it like I could hear the sound kicking off. So that's one of the reasons why I'm moving a lot of my automations locally. And I've been rebuilding a lot of my things. So a lot of the automations that I have been doing, like the printer one that you saw, that's running locally. That's literally using StreamerBot, tying into Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, and then having a printer action initiate there. Whenever I've hosted automations, they're so iffy. So we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, this is the solar node here. So, about $150 total between the antenna, cable, the node itself, and the 4 3,500 milliampere batteries. I did the math on this, by the way. So the solar node should keep the batteries topped off, and even if there is no sun, I should get at least 1 month of power to that node. So all the solar panel is doing is keeping that battery topped off. Been falling for almost 2 years, just Dev. Can't believe it. But yeah, so this is a 31-inch antenna, if you didn't see the TikTok video. This was a fence post that was left over from when I replaced and fixed my fence. So that was one of the ones that was kind of bent. Like, I don't know if you can kind of see, but like right there, there's a dent in it, and we had to bend it back. So I'm like, I'm going to use this post for something later. And I did. So the only thing I have to complain about with the SenseCap P1 solar node for the price is the steel band it came with. Not that great. I had to replace the steel band with one of my own so it could actually get really tight. Otherwise, as tight as I got it, wouldn't get all the way, and I could actually move it around. So I replaced the steel band. The RPSMA to end connector over here, that was the bit. The first cable I bought officially from Rockland, it fell apart when I just put it together. Don't know why. I do have to go back up and seal this connector over here. Type N is weather resistant, but I want to add some more security to that. I forgot to do it today, so I'm going to have to wait until it's somewhat warm. Maybe when it's above 10 degrees Celsius at least, which I think should be happening this week. I'm going to check my weather before I forget. see what the weather's like this week. Weather. Ooh, this is not gonna be fun. I could potentially do it tomorrow. Or Wednesday. Tomorrow's probably gonna be easier. Because the rest of it's gonna be like storming and raining. It's not gonna be a good time for that. All I gotta do is get on the ladder, spend about 5 or 10 minutes, do that. But yeah, so this is about, I want to say like 12 or 15 feet up in the air, plus the roughly 3 feet that antenna is. I've done them, I think I'm getting about like close to 2 miles of range, give or take, with this. So it's been a great little setup. It's really extended my capability to the point I've been seeing nodes on the other side of the city now. So this is going to extend the overall network of Meshtastic in my area. But overall, for about 150 bucks, pretty great. The thing you have to remember is you have to get an RPSMA, the right polarity of this connector going in, and then a Type N female connector. That was the B.5, as well as the solar node needs 18650 button top batteries. I recommend Molly Cell because they're very, very tough. They will discharge down to negative 40 degrees Celsius. Not so much charge, so they should be somewhat resistant for the winter. It was about 20 bucks for those 4. But yeah, that's up. It should be good for quite a few years without me touching it once I get that set up. What will happen if lightning hits it? Well, then you're kind of boned no matter what you do. There is a grounding clamp that I put at the bottom with 10 gauge wire, about 2 feet of 10 gauge wire to a 4-foot ground rod I added there. That's not really going to protect it. Unfortunately, if lightning hits an antenna, you're going to have to replace the antenna. It's probably going to cook the equipment. There's not much you can do about it. Even if lightning hits the antennas that I have for my ham setup, the antenna's probably cooked. And then there's surge arresters, at least for the ham antennas, right before they get into the house. So what'll probably happen in that case is the gas discharge tube will pop and then shut off the connection, so it'll protect my ham radio inside, but the antenna and potentially the line going down to it might need to be replaced. But I have 6 ground rods around the house, so I'm not too worried about that going in, although the Meshtastic is completely isolated by itself, but it's much lower than the roofs and the trees, so potentially lightning is going to go to the tree or a house before it hits that. And to be honest, I think my HF antenna is far more vulnerable out of everything out there. Just throwing that out there. Yep, got lightning arresters in there, Colonel, but it's not really worth it for this little guy over here. Like, look, if it gets zapped, okay, 150 bucks, get a new setup, not a big deal. The ham setup is going to be more of a pain because I had to get a scissor lift to be able to go up and install that antenna, and it took 2 people. How do I feel about Arch server for a mini PC? We don't use Arch for production machines. Square peg, round hole. Servers, above all, you need stability. Arch is not stable. Use PayPal. I use PayPal as well. I mean, PayPal's better than nothing, but yeah. Is it worth it just for Minecraft? No, don't use Arch for servers, period. I don't care what it is, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to do one update, it's going to mess up, and just, if you're going to do a server, Ubuntu or Debian, Red Hat, or Alma. What's the other one? Rocky Linux? Those are your choices. That's just how it is. Like, even for the logging server I'm going to be putting together, on this little mini PC, it's going to be using Ubuntu. Which, by the way, before I was on stream, I did manage to upgrade this little guy. It's a Core i5, I forget what series, but it has 16 gigabytes of DDR3 I just put in. Now I gotta add the SSD. This is gonna become our logging server. And if you don't remember this PC, this is the $30 mini PC I picked up while I was at Hamvention last year. So it's been sitting around for some purpose to come along, and here we are. Yeah, I literally just connected it to the rack where I have a VGA monitor that could use this, and made sure it at least posted, did the thing. Let's at least get the NVMe, or not the NVMe, the SATA SSD in there before I forget. But, yeah. Can it run Doom? Of course it can run Doom. Toaster can run Doom. These little mini PCs are what I love, and especially because, what is it? Words. Windows 10 is now end of life. There should be plenty of servers out there. Oh, what the hell am I doing? I'm screwing the little cage in before I put the SSD in. But now that Windows 10 is end of life, there should be plenty of machines out there that we can repurpose for home labbing. I remember when I was doing a lot of my tinkering, Windows 7 around that time was when you could get the most amount of secondhand PCs, and they were like dirt cheap. So now is like a prime time for you to do that and experience the lovely ability to home lab on the cheap right now. Okay, so yep, we're gonna take these. My GF started running Pop! OS because she heard ads in my operating system. Hell no. Yeah, the problem is, I think Microsoft does not realize they are in a very, very precarious position in the market, because years ago, you could have made the argument that you need Windows to, you know, operate daily. You just needed it. There was a time when that was seriously the case. Not so much in, like, servers and stuff, but you definitely needed it to operate. I mean, I remember there was a time when even I was, you know, tinkering with Linux, and I was like, yeah, I still need Windows to be able to operate daily. Nowadays, you don't really need Windows as much. I know some, you know, people are going to be like, no, I need this one software. In many cases, you can run in a VM, and I'm not talking about the edge cases. I'm talking about for the average everyday person. And Microsoft is in this precarious position where they can't really innovate and offer new value, but they're trying to figure out more value for themselves. And the only way to do that is by utilizing the data of their customers. And from what I'm understanding, the new upcoming Xbox is basically going to be a full-fledged Windows computer and more or less do a lot of the same crap. So why not get a Steam PC at this point? At least Steam, it's kind of weird to say this, Steam seems to have been the only ethical monopoly that I have come across. At least so far. But Valve has honestly been in the position for many years where people didn't really understand why I kept saying Valve going to Linux was really the only logical choice. And people kept thinking I was saying that because, oh yeah, of course, you just want Linux to, you know, do that. And I'm like, no. It's because when Microsoft started doing the Xbox store and started requiring you to use that for games, Valve saw the writing on the wall. That if things progressed the way they were, Valve would have to compete with Microsoft, and Microsoft would eat their lunch because ultimately they have the operating system market and they are vertically integrated on quite a few things. So Valve said, we need to go make our own solution and everything. Now, obviously, Valve doesn't, I wouldn't say that they don't have the resources to build their own operating system and everything, but they'd have to start from square zero. Well, Linux already had an ecosystem, fledgling as it was at the time. Here we go. 1 terabyte logging server ready to be built. They were able to take a lot of open source projects and just say, I like that, I like that, I like that, let's optimize all this and get going. And if you think about it, in a relatively short amount of time, 4 or 5 years, Valve has created an entire gaming ecosystem on Linux that doesn't need Microsoft. Where we've just passed 3% of all computers on Steam are Linux. Like, we're now at a position now where there are more Linux machines reporting in on Valve with Steam than there are Mac. Like, think about that. One of the most valuable companies in the entire world, which everyone was coveting these machines for many years, myself included. I keep that here as a prop to remind everyone I'm a scorned Apple user. Cannot compete. Now, remember when Apple came out with, what was it, the Apple glasses, or whatever the hell they called it? Have we heard anything about that since? I don't think we have. Because here's the reality. They were too goddamn expensive. Apple has lost the mission. They don't understand the market. And nobody's gonna spend $3,000 goddamn dollars for VR that only runs for a couple of hours and doesn't even do it as well as people would like it to. That's why you haven't heard anything from them. And then Valve is coming out here with the framework glasses. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a VR person. It did interest me, and I'm like, I could see myself grabbing those, especially knowing that they have native Linux support, especially with the Index having native Linux support. But I definitely am getting the controller. Because I've been rocking an Xbox 360 wired controller for many years, and I have the original Steam controller over here. And this was a fun little controller, don't get me wrong. But the thing I never liked about it was it only had one thumbstick. The new one has 2 thumbsticks. And it looks like it's much better for all that. But I did like all the buttons, how clicky this thing was. It was an overall great controller. It was just the 2 thumbstick thing was what kind of killed me. More because I grew up with Xbox and stuff, so you kind of needed that layout. Anyway. Yeah. So that's where I've been with it. And then the Valve Steam PC is kind of interesting. I honestly don't see the value in it personally, but let me put it this way. I see where the value is in it for the people that want to do just, I need a gaming system. I don't want to fuss with it. I just want it to work. I can understand that. If you're not a PC builder or, that, it's probably the closest that we can bridge PC gaming and console gaming. Without, sticking in the Xbox ecosystem. So, your Pop OS is pretty buggy. What can I do? You gotta actually be more specific than pretty buggy. That could range from anything from there's an actual bug in my operating system to there's an issue with my hardware that's causing issues in my operating system. So you can, reach out to the System76 Reddit or Discord for support. We can help you a little bit, but yeah. But I do know there were some updates also in Pop OS, and Pop OS is going to be having a new distribution. Pop! OS is going to have 2404 released in December, so there will be a brand new version of Pop! OS with a lot of fixes and everything, because it's based on the Ubuntu 2404 system. But the 2604 version should be back, well, it should be on in April, May, when they come out with Ubuntu 2604. I'm not upgrading in December to 2404. I'm just gonna wait until 2604, and I'm gonna do a fresh install. Yes, I know they're gonna have an upgrade path, but you're gonna be going from GNOME to Cosmic Desktop environment, and I just want to have everything clean, and it gives me a chance to, you know, do some spring cleaning, clean out a bunch of junk files and everything, and start fresh. So, yeah. Tell them to do sudo apt-get update apt-get upgrade. Oh, you're forgetting the sudo in the second part, but yes. Let me catch up with the chat. I've been in a Discord call with the new girlfriend for coming up to a week tomorrow. Nice. Arch is about as stable as my ex-girlfriend. Got a minis form, UM7073 Lite, it's fire. Yeah, I like the mini PCs, it's just for some of my stuff, bigger PCs are better, but I know with Grafana and all the stuff I was doing, we'll be dashboard hunting in a little bit. Because the idea is, this is going to be the logging server for my pfSense. I'm probably going to slap Graylog onto it to normalize the Suricata logs, which is the IDS IPS system. It's going to be grabbing all my Unify information from Unify Polar. So my switches and access points, all of that data is going to get fed into here. So I'll even see like temperatures and all of that stuff. I'm probably going to set up a speed test on this as well. So it'll constantly do a speed check and plot the speed, because sometimes I fight with my ISP and they're like, no, you know, your speed's within range. And I can be like, not according to these hours. But yeah, there's going to be quite a few things, and then I'll probably be able to send over my N8n logs and a bunch of other things to monitor. Fair, I usually use Ubuntu server, but just thought I'd switch it up, lower base CPU usage. Going off of lower base CPU usage is really a misnomer, because anything can cause higher CPU usage, and your applications are going to be more than anything. And if you remove the GUI, the honest truth is if you remove the GUI, you're taking away most of the usage there. A lot of the people that I see that are, you know, using server operating system, for some reason still put a GUI on. Learn to go with the CLI, the command line interface on a server. With a server, you want it stripped down as much as possible, but there is an Ubuntu Lite installation too that has a lot less resources. But for stability reasons and all that, Ubuntu is a little bit better for server needs. Of course, you've got Alma Linux, I think it is, and Rocky Linux, and there's a few others. At work, we use Red Hat and Amazon Linux 2023. You can run Femboy Gone Freaky through the game in VR mode. Anyone hear about Ubuntu and rewriting sudo and Rust that's jacked up has quite a few vulnerabilities and missing features? I think there's like, what, rsudo was that? I've heard about it, but it's not just Ubuntu. Several others are doing it. So there is a use case for writing things in Rust. I will, you know, at least put that out there. It is a more memory-safe language than C. However, rewriting anything from scratch is going to introduce issues, because sudo has had, what, 30 years of maturity, give or take? So, yeah. Wasn't even finished, apparently. What's the rush? Well, everyone's trying to get Rust stuff in. That's the rush. I want to get another Optiplex running on Windows 11. Yeah, Optiplex machines are great. I have one that used to be my pfSense firewall many years ago. It's still a good box to run things on. I just, haven't. I've been trying to get lower power usage for all of my stuff. Do you plan to make a release on the bot? Which bot? All my bots are pretty much open sourced already. If you go to my GitHub, here, I'll show you. It actually shocks me how few people, out of the people that see my content, actually check the GitHub. So if you go right to my profile, I just updated this too. Looks all pretty. I found out that you can actually make a README if you make a repo that's named after yourself, and then you can actually make a whole like splash page for people to come in, so you can actually see my stats and everything, and all my links and everything. Woo! But anyway, if you go here, I list a lot of my bots. So there's Solar Storm Scout, there's Penguin Overlord, the Discord bot, there's Stream Demon, Star Demon, and Boontube Demon, Typo Sniper, not really a bot, Patch Gremlin, which is my patch system, as well as Pipewire Sync and Split Tunnel Switch. So all of those are there. For Stream Demon, by the way, someone mentioned to me, I think it was on stream, that they wanted to have multi-platform support. So I'm working on, I have to test this out, having multi-platform support here. Had to go through a bunch of different security fixes. Look, LLMs make things faster, but if you let LLMs write all the code, it will make stupid decisions on a lot of the code that makes it insecure. So you can see, like, X was over here. So, let me see. Will it actually show me the failures on it? So if we do, what was it? Nope. No, that's the most recent run. But when it was running through here, it kept giving, you know, like errors for, oh, there we go. I skipped past it. It would actually hard code stuff in the logging. Now, to be fair, a lot of it wasn't really sensitive stuff. Like status code, response text over here. So this was a case of a false positive. So you had to go through, see everything. Yeah, there's just various issues here. So, yeah, but I'm, of course I had a Git. I have a very, very active Git, to the point I have GitHub Actions. So I have automatic security checks, workflows. Anytime there's a pull request, it does the CI/CD pipeline, like we're showing here. So you can actually see, I do the proper thing of making PRs in my own stuff, so I don't push to main. And of course, you have all these bots here. So, Solar Storm Scout, that's been live for 2 days, I want to say. So this was a spin-off of the Discord features. So for those of you that haven't been in the Discord, I've slowly been having Penguin Overlord replace all the Me6 functions and enhancing them as well. So vendor status alerts, this is literally going to a bunch of vendors and parsing their statuses. Like if AWS has an outage, Azure has an outage, DigitalOcean, Cloudflare, Zscaler, a lot of these companies, you can actually go here and see, is there an issue with your system? Like even JumpCloud, GitHub, all these different ones. Well, I also had this over here that I programmed, the radio weather forecast. This is great for ham radio operators. So every 30 minutes in the Discord, it will send a new radio forecast, tell you the R conditions, S conditions, G conditions, for geomagnetic storm, solar radiation, if there's a radio blackout, and which bands are good to use right now. And it'll also tell you the minimum usable frequency and your A index, K index, solar flux. But it'll also tell you D region absorption, the aurora forecast for every 30 minutes. And of course, you got your GOES solar X-ray flux, so you can see where the solar X-rays are. We also have UK, EU, and US legislation trackers, so if you want to stay up to date with whatever country bills are going through, there's that. I'm not going to implement every single country. These are just the major ones because of, well, I'm in the US, and we're worried about EU and UK privacy regulation with things, especially with chat control and the UK Online Safety Act. You have gaming news, tech news, Apple and Android news, cybersecurity news, CVEs as well. So as CVEs are reported, and then we have your KEVs, your known exploited vulnerabilities. So as these come through and are made aware, you can go through here. And then for the people that are curious what things I'm starring on GitHub, I have a Star Demon bot, which posts to Discord, Matrix, Mastodon, and Blue Sky. And what I've also been doing, this finally was a full test today, BoonTube Demon. That's monitoring for all my YouTube posts. This was Me6 originally. I replaced the Me6 bot with BoonTube Demon for my YouTube posts. And Fresh Talk, well, TikTok's API is a whole other nightmare that I'm wanting to get rid of. But then you have Stream Demon is handling Kick, Twitch, and YouTube live stream events. So, Me6 didn't handle a lot of that stuff, at least when I got it, and when it just wasn't always reliable, but Stream Demon will post when I'm live to Discord, Matrix, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. And that's handling all of that over there. But we have a ton of features, as I went over the other night. But this bot is available for anyone to use, contribute to. We even have fun little features in there like XKCD. I'm still working on the timer. For some reason, the systemd timer has just not been great on the XKCD comics. Everything else has been working fine. So I have, hold on, what you saying? Is this a recording or are you live feed? I'm live. This is a live stream. But yeah, I have a Git basically. So, there's that. Now, if you do have Blue Sky or Mastodon, the links are in the Blue Sky and Mastodon, or you can just look up Solar Storm Scout. Now, these ones post every hour and a half. I didn't want to be too spammy. If you do want to filter it out from the feed, all you got to do is mute the Solar Storm Scout hashtag over there. But yeah, same concept basically, every hour and a half as the solar weather report. Same thing for Mastodon. There's been quite a few people that are picking up on Mastodon. There's definitely more hammers, I think, picking up on Mastodon than here. Because, but yeah, it's only been up for a couple days. So, yeah. That's been a fun little project to get out there. And the interesting thing is, it's all running off of one Raspberry Pi with multiple Docker containers. So eventually what I plan to do after I get all these servers together, and I can set aside enough money to justify it, I want to get a few Raspberry Pi 5s, at least the 8GB version, PoE and NVMe hats for them. There's a PoE hat I found that does NVMe as well. Get NVMEs for all of them. I'd like to get 5 Raspberry Pi 5s, but at minimum 3, and then I set up a Kubernetes cluster on a 1U rack in my server running over PoE for all of my containers. So the idea is they're always online, and whenever I do an update, it will just take one down, keep the other one up, get the other one up, and then that way it'll be always on, so it should always work. The iPhone sock is ridiculous, but that's still sold out. What the hell? Chief, you do. I'm brainwashed safe. I just looted an Optiplex 5040 out of a dumpster last night. Working good. I love college towns, one of those small sizes. Yeah, I love the little Optiplexes. I used to go dumpster diving into college dumpsters as well, especially when they would do the dorm turnovers. You'd be surprised what you can get for free in a lot of those places. Borderlands 2 VR. There's a VR version of it? That should be fun. I bought laptop 4 years ago with OLED screen eyes, CPWM, looking for thin laptop for Linux with IPS screen. I think there's a lot of typos in there, or translator went bad. There's a lot of laptops out there. You just got a T48 free 95. Ooh, nice. Yeah, there's a lot of good finds right now, especially with the Windows 10 end of life. My thoughts on Steam Machine? I think I already gave that earlier. I think it's okay for the people that don't really build machines and want a no-fuss computer, but for a lot of the people that would build their own computer or are already in the PC gaming world, doesn't really make much sense. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I just say it's not for everyone. Diet Pie. I've been returning to Fedora. The only thing I don't like about Fedora is it's too rapid of a release cycle, and for my production needs, I needed to have it, what's the word? Stable. I don't want to upgrade like every 6-7 months. I want to make sure I can at least have several years of a stable build environment. That's why I like Ubuntu LTSs, or specifically Pop! OS for my desktop stuff. Why would anyone run a window manager GUI on a Linux server? You'd be surprised how many people I find doing that. A lot of it tends to be Windows people, because Windows Server teaches people bad habits. They think they need a GUI because Windows Server comes with a GUI. Unless you get the Windows Server, what is it, Core? But I have very, very seldomly come across people using the Windows Server Core, because almost everything for Windows, including server applications, is designed to go through a GUI. So Windows is really heavy because it needs a GUI. Like, in most cases, you can't run Windows without a GUI. Yeah, for a lot of things, even on many server apps. And it's shocking, but yeah, that's the reason why they do it. And a lot of people think, well, GUI's easier to use, but the honest truth is I find GUIs very often don't make a lot of the power use and server stuff easier. They actually make it harder, and then you're wasting system resources. To give you an idea, I'm barely doing crap on this computer right now. Let's open up NVIDIA SMI. Okay, so on my NVIDIA GPU right now, I'm using roughly 724 megabytes of my 8 gigabytes of VRAM, just with a couple of apps open. Most of it is the... So you got what? GNOME and that. So you got about 400 or so is being used by the GUI. Well, when I run NVIDIA SMI on the LLM server, there's like about 100 megabytes being used. And you want as much memory free as possible for your LLM processing. That's VRAM. There's 64 gigabytes of RAM in here. I've got plenty of that. But yeah, if you're, running a server, very often they're running an integrated GPU, not a dedicated, so then you're using more RAM. What uses do HDMI dumb plugs have? So some machines some machines will not boot headless. So, case in point, if I can find it. Yeah. This Latte Panda over here cannot boot headless. You need to have a monitor plugged into it. So there's a dummy plug somewhere around here that when I was running this as a headless server, I literally had to keep that plugged in, otherwise it would not boot without a monitor. So there's quite a few devices like that. Did I just find another Raspberry Pi? Hey! So that's the second Raspberry Pi 4. Wait, if I'm right, there's 50... This is the MQTT I'm setting up for the Meshtastic. I put the box together of all the stuff I need. Yep! Another Raspberry Pi 4 with a PoE hat. That'll be my next Meshtastic node. So now that I got the solar node, this is going to be MQTT. The idea is that there's going to be an internet gateway running over Meshtastic, so I can subscribe it to a group on the internet, and anyone on Meshtastic can then connect into it. But I'm gonna have that on VLAN or that. Out of curiosity and somewhat unrelated, I'm looking for new, relatively cheap headphones. No mic, any recommends? Let me remember the model number. Hold on. Let me just make sure this is the right one, because I actually have these as headphones that don't have yeah, AKG K240s, Alpha Kilo Golf Kilo 240. Look those up. I picked them up for like $50 on Amazon about a year or so ago, and then I just slapped on a Sahara Gaming microphone on there, and that's my headset for when I'm at work, because I hate the headsets they provide. That's a pretty great one. I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks. That's a really great headset for what it is. Now, it is open back, so you'll get a great sound stage, no doubt. But with it being open back, if you're in a noisy environment, you're going to hear the noise around you. I like open back stuff, but that's, I think, one of the best bang for the buck headsets you'll get. The only recommendation I will do, put some better memory cushions on it, because the stock ones, they're okay, but you can do better with some different memory foam ones, but you can replace them. ACG, no, AKG, Alpha Kilo Golf. How's it going? I hate Twitch ads so much. Yeah, I hate ads too. But, look man, homelabs ain't cheap. All the money that I get off of this stuff, the tips and everything, goes right back to the home lab to tinker and show you all the stuff I come up with. Honestly, my mod gets paid more. The mod that clips all of my videos for me, he gets paid more than I do. I don't pay myself jack. Chief has a hub, a link hub that is nasty. It's 100% recording with the command to make it look like he is live by saying he is live. Yeah, we've really just plugged this into Sora, and I'm not really here. It's like a John Cena, you can't see me. Trying to get my little ham radio license. Been using and repairing CB radios. About time I move up to ham. Do it! Do it! There's tons of ham radio tools that I've been building out in my bot. So, the cool thing is, once you learn about ham radio, your knowledge and ability to use a CB is going to go through the roof, because you're going to understand so much more about it than just, oh, better antenna, all that. Like, with the MQTT, I know about ground planes that I need to set up on the antenna, and there's just so much nuance. I need to get to my amateur extra class. I'll eventually do that. Maybe do that next year. loading Omarchy right now. Just say you're using Arch already, alright? What's the most comfortable distro to use for gaming and it can't be Mint? I use Pop OS. Pop OS is what I've been using for years for gaming and all of my work and stuff, and it works great for me. There's going to be a new release of Pop OS next month, 2404. But around April, May is going to be the 2604 release. They're going to be in line with Ubuntu. The reason why they waited so long to release the 2404 was they wanted 2404 to have their Cosmic desktop environment, which is a complete overhaul and fork of GNOME, but written in Rust. And I like that for a couple of reasons. One, Rust is supposedly a little bit more performant. Two, the GNOME Foundation's kind of fallen off. They really have. They've been kind of missing the point. Need to put a better air filter down. No, not a better air filter. I just need to replace the filter because my allergies are going crazy. What do you think the Steam Machine price should be for it to be successful? It depends on the hardware it's coming with. But I'd say for it to be successful would need to be priced around Xbox 360 and PS5 pricing. What are they going at right now? Xbox One price. I see. What is the Xbox One going for right now? Okay, so they're going about $450 to $800. I'd say that $800 to $1,000 range would probably be good. Well, it's also got the advantage of it's a full-fledged computer. So anyone could then load up Discord, talk with your friends, run a lot of your school application. Well, not those. Well, you could do a virtual machine on it. It's a Ryzen CPU. There's nothing stopping that. But yeah, basically it's going to be more capable. Catching up. When I killed the GUI, I think I was only using like 500 megabytes of RAM. Is it software or hardware layer issue? Are we talking about the person that had the issue early on? Thoughts on the... I don't know what that emoji's supposed to be. I've got Mesh Pocket, but no one online in my area. I hate it. Well, if you build it, they will come. Put up a solar node. Put up a solar node. Seriously, if you do a solar node with that 31-inch antenna from Rockland that I picked up, there's a good chance you might be able to hit more people. And the nice thing about the solar node is, by virtue of it having it out there, it extends my LilyGo TDEX ability, because that solar node can act as the first hop. And it's got a 5.8 decibel 31-inch antenna. It's about 12, 15 feet in the air. So anyone that can reach that node, it can then, talk a lot better. Because before I was seeing like maybe 3 or 4 people in the area. Last I checked, I was seeing over 100. Just wait till I get the MQTT up. Hold on. It said it held back a message for some reason. Give me 1 second. The auto mod sometimes gets... Oh, getting tribes 2 and running Pop OS was a kick in the dick. LOL, that game did not play nice. What are you talking about? It was stupid easy for me. All you gotta do, it's very simple. Load up Lutris, and then run the mod, and then there's a whole install script for Lutris that got Tribes 2 installed for me with the patches and the mod packs and everything. Just one click and go. Took me like 5 minutes. Chief, make a crypto to get paid. No, I'm not doing that. See, I have this thing that gingers don't have. It's called a soul. First time tuning in. Recommendations for low-code, no-code app builders. Is it best to just learn code? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So honestly, when I'm doing a lot of my apps, so I've done code here and there for a while, mostly Python and Bash. Some people just say it's scripting. Whatever. Nuance. I would write a lot of things in Python or Bash. But nowadays, what I do is I use GitHub Copilot Pro. I actually got the GitHub Copilot Pro Plus plan now because I was using so much Claude. I was spending an extra $20 a month. That I was like, you know what, screw it. We're just going to do the $40 a month plan because 1,500 premium requests versus close to like 800-900 for the same price. I forget the math, but it basically worked out to be cheaper. And now I got Claude, Opus, and ChatGPT Codex. But basically, you should learn the concepts of code because here's the problem. While Claude and all them can do some code, any of these low-code, no-code solutions end up being there's code on the back end, some LLMs are building it for you. If you don't know what you're doing, you will make it horribly wrong. Because here's the thing. You can have an app built by Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. Will it work? Maybe. Most likely it will. You can get it to work. But is it going to be structured in a way that you actually want it to be? No. Because as we saw, I'll pull up my GitHub as an example over here. We'll pull up one of the projects I was just working on today. Because as I tell people, I can code this stuff, but it's the difference of me spending weeks or months to do the same amount of work that I can do in hours or days. So we have Stream Daemon over here, all right? Now, if we go to my pull request over here. Okay, so the reason why there's these X's over here is these are things that are failing my checks. So I have CI/CD workflow checks that I actually programmed in. So as you can see, they do a whole bunch of things. So we have it testing in Python 3.10 through 3.14. It's doing a lint and security check whenever there's a pull request. It's doing a code scanning test for, through CodeQL. Does the same thing through Sneak open source, Snick code over here, Trivy, where it's opening up the Docker container and then testing for more security issues, CodeQL analysis, where it's analyzing the code for other quality issues, a dependency vulnerability scan. It's, testing the Docker image over here, a dependency review, Snick over here again. There's a few Snick checks that I have, as you can see. So these are all checking on it. Now, if any one of these fail, that's a reason for me to look into it further. So let me see if I can pull up one of the errors that it had. Hold on. Which one failed over here? Was it dependency? Was it code quality? Or are these the latest tests? Yeah, these are the latest tests. Let me look at the commit. Yeah, so let's pull up maybe this one over here. Okay, yeah, so it's got an X over. So you can see right over here. This is where my security checks were picking up on its generated code with different issues. So lint and security, F string without any placeholders, bunch of that. Date time delta imported but unused, so it brought some junk along that didn't need to be there, so I could clean it up. That's more of a hygiene thing. Then we had hard-coded non-cryptographic secret. So this is, something that wasn't really too much of a security issue, but it could be. And then if you go on over here, you can see it plainly coded, secret and path environment. Okay? So these are the checks I did. Now, why I was able to know to do that was because I have some background in DevOps and DevSecOps to know you should have these checks in place before you commit code. But also, another thing that you'll want to note is when I tend to use like Claude or ChatGPT and have it build things, it'll often build it out. Oh god, that's my really old early version right over here. No, wait, no, that's not. Never mind. But when you build it out, it'll actually build it in like one entire file. So like, I remember when I was testing and all this was streamdaemon.py. This is essentially where it runs off of. It's 511 lines, right? Originally, it was like 4,000, because then I'm like, okay, wait. We're not going to do this monolithic crap. You're going to actually modularize the code. So then that's when I told it, this is how I want it structured. I want the AI related script that goes to Gemini. You're going to have your own file over here. You're going to have the config for secrets and config over here, modularized again. The models, so the stream state to monitor it, that's going to be over here. The platforms that you're doing, you're going to break it up into social platforms and streaming platforms. So everything is separated out. The reason why you want to do this is this makes it a lot easier to test everything out than having a singular monolithic file. But technically what it did work. But it was going to be a nightmare to maintain, because every time I would go to work on something, I'd have to go back to that file, find the specific function, find the block, find where it's called again in that same file. So it was like a whole mess. Whereas now I have it importing each file as a module. Which then is like, okay, it failed in Blue Sky. All right, so now that means I got to work in the Blue Sky module. So it made it a lot easier. So I would say you do still need to learn the concepts of coding. Because without knowing that, you are going to make horrible, well, not you, but it's going to make horrible decisions for code that if you don't know any better, you're going to introduce. And that's how a lot of enterprises end up with bad security issues, because they vibe coded everything. Vibe coding is not necessarily bad if you are vibe checking, as I call it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm literally going, I'll show you a VS Code for one of the projects I was doing. Yeah, so we have BoonTube Daemon. I'm working on the multi-account capability with it. So the idea is it's going to be able to monitor multiple YouTube accounts, because I had somebody request that feature. So you can see on the right-hand side over here, sorry, TikTok, you get the cut-off view that you can only see the center. The purple, green, and red sites, though, got the full view. You can see over here, I'm going back and forth with it. And I'm literally telling it, like, security issues are being found on these lines. I literally say, check all the damn files, because I got tired of going back and forth. But yeah, so I go back and forth here, and I have it testing out in the terminal, and I'm literally going back and forth. I'm making test files, to run unit tests and everything. But this is because I know what I'm looking for it to do. Again, it's the difference of I can spend hours and days versus weeks and months to achieve the same goal. TikTok will ban for showing code. Well, I got an actual TikTok rep, so. Yeah, I'm on Cursor, $60 a month plan for the same reason. Ew, Cursor, ew.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
You've been working out? Yeah, I've been working out for quite a few months. I've been getting back into shape because I gained a lot of weight during COVID. But I used to be in the wrestling and other sports when I was in high school and So I'm getting back to being fit. So yeah, I've been losing weight. I think I've lost like 40 pounds since I was at my peak, give or take 30, 40 pounds. I haven't been measuring the weight. I've just been measuring the size. That's what she said. Anyway. Chief is going to rip that shirt. So it's funny you say that because I actually have to buy large shirts. It used to be because of my gut, but now the gut's loose. But the arms are definitely getting tight. Like, there's like barely any room now. Debian 13 is actually decent for gaming. Install extra repo for NVIDIA and BAM up to current open driver. For now, but Debian 13 is only up to date because it's so recent. Give it a few months and then it'll be far behind. I'd still use Pop! OS. Don't get me wrong, I love Debian. I use Debian on server stuff when I want stability. Ubuntu when I need more hardware enablement, like my NVIDIA stuff that I had to use. Valve's Cube thing is a 30-watt processor and a 10-watt GPU. It won't be a great gamer. You don't really need too much power to appease a lot of people for their gaming needs. That's the honest truth. Okay, where the hell's my water? Oh. Let me grab my water. I refilled it and I forgot to bring it in. I have a little water cooler out there. I get 5 gallons of spring water in that machine. There's actually, I don't know if you've ever noticed it, but there's like a whole stack of like 5-gallon jugs over there. That's a workout bringing them in. I also don't drink any sodas, which is part of the reason why I lost a lot of my weight. I don't drink sodas. If I do, it's soda water. You know, sparkling water. I have juice every now and then. What I like to do is like mix half and half of orange juice and grapefruit juice. I like that. I do have a soda stream. Once in a while, I take the spring water and I carbonate that, and then I'll pour like a little bit of cranberry juice in there, make like a cranberry sparkling soda kind of thing. It's great. I actually haven't had soda in so long that every time I have a soda drink now, I'm like, oh my god, this is too freaking sweet. I can't drink it. It's sugar water. You can even game in Discord VC. Yeah. But also, back to the person that's like, you use Cursor, just use GitHub Copilot Pro and VS Code. Because if I remember, Cursor is not... Hold on. They say the best way to code with AI. But if I remember, it didn't have a Linux version, at least when I checked. The other reason I don't like it is that work doesn't let me use it. And we can use VS Code, and I have Amazon Q at work. So, hold on. Download. Oh, they do have a Linux version. So, what's the Pro Plus give you? Compared to the GitHub one? They don't give you, like, the just straight up, like, it's just like, get 3 times usage on all OpenAI, Claude and Gemini models. What is the base usage, mother? This is also why I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to use this, because I don't like the fact when it's like, get 3 times usage. What's your base usage? Let me know your base number. Oh, and also unlimited tab completions. You get that at the $10 GitHub Copilot Pro. Maximum context windows. Like, this is just so, like, basic in the information they're giving you. I'm not trying to hate on it, but it's giving me too much to hate on. Alright, Cursor AI. Usage limits. See, why couldn't you just come out with this? Now I gotta go to the docs. This is too much freaking work to find out something. Really? They're ripping you off! Look at this. You get 675 Sonnet 4.5 requests, 1650 Gemini requests, or 1500 GPT-5 requests. For $60. I get 1500 of all of these included per month. Not only that, I've got GPT 5.1, GPT-5 Codex, and I've got, I thought I had Opus in here. Maybe I was wrong. But I got Gemini 2.5 Pro, Sonnet 4.5, GPT-5, like all of these that say 1x, those I can use 1500 times. Claude Haiku and 5.1 Codex Mini, I can use 4500. And then 4.1, 4.0, 5 Mini, Grok Code Fast 1, Raptor Mini they don't count at all towards my usage limits. And I get unlimited tab completions. Like, GitHub Copilot Pro for $10 gave me 300 premium requests. Now, I don't think it had Gemini 2.5 and the GPT 5.1s. Let's see, hold on. Oh, I have to put my Anthrop, never mind. Copilot. Okay, yeah, so those are all the models I have. Okay. So I have all those features in there for that much. And let me see what was... So I was doing $10 a month, and the reason why I updated was I set $20 a month of a budget for premium requests. So I had 300 premium requests per month I got for $10 a month. If you're just starting out, that's more than enough. Once you start getting seriously into using it, you kind of need to lean towards the GitHub Pro Plus plan because it's just cheaper that way. So, so you got 500 requests for $20. So I got 800 requests basically for $30. So if I were to, because they charge 0.4 cents per, so if I were to equal my $40 a month, I would only have 1,050 requests. Now I have 1,500. And then the GitHub Copilot Pro Plus includes... It included some other features I can't remember off the top of my head. Hold on. So, you get 1,500 requests per month. You get the agentic mode, you get all these features. So, like, look, you get all these features on 10. So the difference is you get increased GitHub model rate limits at Pro Plus. Chat skills and IDEs, you get that in both plans. So, oh, I do get Claude Opus 4.1. I was right. Why is it not showing up in my VS Code? I'll have to figure that out. So you get all of these. Oh, they did add Grok and all that. Okay. Real-time code suggestions with included models. That's just included in Pro. Organization, custom instructions. That's okay, so I don't get that either. Exclude. Okay, that's a business feature. That's a business feature. I get audit logs with Pro Plus. Nice. Copilot CLI. Haven't played with that. Oh yeah, GitHub Spark. Public preview. So Spark was something interesting. So GitHub Spark is apparently that program that you can launch and you can tell it to make like an entire app with GUI and everything, and it'll just go through and do the thing. I haven't played with it too much, but it looked interesting. But yeah, Cursor seems like a ripoff to me. I'm gonna be completely honest. It really does. Because the fact that they're offering Pro Plus for $60 a month to give you 1,500 requests, or just about 675 Claude Sonnet requests, when almost all of my requests are Claude Sonnet. That's primarily the one I've been using is Claude Sonnet 4.5. Like, see, Sonnet 4.5. But I'm curious why I don't see Opus. But I have Codex. Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah. Say my arms are too big for my shirts and I need a V-neck. Yeah. I'm trying to work out myself in 2 months smoke-free from cigarettes after like 50 years of smoking, so want to get some cardio up. Yeah, that'll take some time. It'll take you, like, no joke. I think when my, friends who were smokers told me they, like, fully quit from smoking, it took them, like, a year and a half, at least, to, like, fully, like, recover their lungs. Of course, it depends on your age, too. I'm using Kimi K2 at the moment. What's Kimi K2? I haven't played with that. Fellow Linux nerds, I got a question. How do I change my session from Wayland to X11? I still haven't started using Wayland myself, but I'm hearing good things about it for the most part. The honest truth is a lot of things are starting to get away from X11, so you may actually run into more issues with that approach. Kimi K2, your all-in-one AI assistant. Never heard of this. Moonshot AI model. Very well rounded. Interesting. Ooh. I see open source. Oh. It's just documents. LLM, blah 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 blah. Okay. Wait, do they have another? They have a GitHub.io over here. So it looks like you can run it locally, if I'm not mistaken. Huh. Coding tasks. And they're comparing it against... Interesting. Actually scoring pretty well. I'll have to give that a shot. They got an API. Wait a minute. Deployment. You can access Kimi K2's API. We can provide an OpenAI Anthropic compatible API for you. Currently, it is recommended to run Kimi K2 on the following inference engines. So there is a way, I think, to deploy it. Oh. Yeah, you're gonna need a big boy GPU. Not even a GPU, that's just a freaking monster. H200. Yeah, sure, I'll get a car payment worth of car payment, whole car value worth of stuff. Either your videos have been a huge inspiration to get my passion for the IT dev at home back after a deflating job, now at a job that actually makes me want to learn and practice every day. Wanted to ask what's your take on the Marchy distro? I haven't played with it that much, but the honest truth is a little bit of that has to do with the guy behind Omarchy. DHH has been an extremely controversial figure. I'm not saying the project in and of itself is bad. It's just looking at DHH, and he is he's said a lot of things that I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna jive with you. And I'm not one of those type of people that's like, oh, you know, you slightly disagree with me. There's like where we can agree to disagree, and then there's like how do I say this without TikTok, you know, picking up on it? There's well, basically there's words. There's being okay to agree to disagree because we don't see eye to eye, and then there's having opinions like I don't know how else to say it except the nicer way than thinking that's not euthanasia, whatever. Just look into him. He's been a very controversial figure that's caused a lot of division in the Ruby on Rails community where he started from. I'm not saying the guy isn't smart in terms of software and everything, but it's like one of those things where you go off the rails on other opinions that it starts to sour the things you're actually really good at. What has he said? Ooh. Let's dig into it. Hold on. If I can find it, DHH controversy. Oh yeah. Even Duke University libraries publicly distance themselves. The controversy itself, DHH, here. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The controversy itself, DHH engaged in a public exchange on Twitter that many found offensive, leading to accusations of huh and huh, among other issues. He also made controversial statements about the importance of free speech, which some saw as a way to justify his behavior. The fallout. In response to DHH's statements, several organizations, including Duke University libraries, announced they would no longer use 37 Signals products such as Basecamp. This led to larger debate about DHH's character and his role as a public figure in the tech industry. That's just one incident. Let's put it this way. You have Reddit posts that go on to it. The Ruby community has a DHH problem. You have people that literally have to write things out like this. Why we're dropping Basecamp from Duke University. Like, the fact that someone does things like this that gets actual organizations to drop it down, it's one of those when it's like, okay, you said something, we can agree to disagree. Like, look, I have plenty of friends who are on all sides of the political spectrum. Okay? We are friends. We don't agree with each other. What has he said? A lot of the things I can't say on here without me getting in trouble. But we'll read what Duke said. We came to the decision after weighing a level of use in an organization. Another league shared an article published on The Verge. Breaking Camp has reported internal conflict regarding a culturally insensitive list of funny customer names led Basecamp's leadership to ban employees from holding societal and political discussions, ignoring that the conflict focused on workplace dynamics. Mass resignations resulted, and the experiences of the employees interviewed points a picture of the company. Of company leaders who initially supported diversity, equity, and inclusion activities, but eventually placed severe restrictions on how those activities could play out at work. There's a whole situation here. Like, I remember digging into this. I was like, wow. Look, does that disregard the meritocracy of his? Like I said, you can have opinions where we can agree to disagree, but there are some opinions where I'm gonna have to look at you and be like, I'm sorry, but I can't associate with you. I think everyone has that point. Even, I'm gonna tell you, even the person that's the most free speech activist is gonna have a line they're gonna draw in their own house where they're gonna say, I'm not gonna allow you to say this and I'm out. And I say this as someone that does believe in people being allowed to say whatever they want. Doesn't mean I have to agree to associate with you. Everyone forgets that, yes, there's freedom of speech, but they forget there's freedom of association. And a lot of people are choosing to exercise their freedom of association because of the speech that you are freely choosing to say. The same could be said about, like, look, even though we can... I'm not, like, saying, like, as I said before, I'm not saying he isn't a smart guy and he isn't, you know, brilliant when it comes to tech. But I can also say the same argument with Richard Stallman. Brilliant guy. I will definitely acknowledge if it was not for him, open source and the free software movement as we know it would not exist. But he did say some things that were pretty reprehensible that got him ousted from that did get him ousted from his own organization that he founded. So that's the reality. Yeah, like, look, I'm gonna put it this way. Omarchi looks like a good project. Do not get me wrong. But there's a reason why Framework even got in hot water with the amount of times they were pushing it. I have nothing against Framework. But a lot of people were scratching their heads at, out of all the distros you could have out there, why are you posting inordinately, I think that's the right word, about that one over all the other choices over there. And it would have been, and that's why Framework recently got in hot water. If they had just said, hey, we're, you know, trying Omarchi out, all that, made one post and moved on, nobody would have cared. But then they consistently did it, despite the community saying, hey, not sure about that one. It's just bloated as well. Learn how to do things yourself. What, the, Omarchi? Look, I'm not opposed to, like, playing with it to see what it's about, but I don't see myself using it. But yeah, if you look into it, there was a lot of things that happened, that over years, it's just been one of those, like, there's been a consistent, how do I put it this way? If you say one thing and that's wrong, that's fine. What even is Ruby on Rails? So Ruby on Rails is a framework. I haven't dealt with it too much. I have some friends that deal with it. I think it's a server platform, not like a server platform and like hosting stuff, but it's, so there's the Ruby language, if you know what Ruby is. Well, there are websites that are actually hosted using Ruby on Rails. I haven't played with it myself. Yeah, server-side web application framework. It's just written in Ruby. So, there are a lot of jobs out there that do actually want you to know Ruby on Rails in order to, is it like Node.js? I'm not really sure because I don't really do that kind of coding on my own. Let's see if there's somebody that has a comparison there. Yeah, so they apparently do have a lot of similarities, but Node.js is definitely more popular. Okay, Node will get you more job opportunities, as one says Ruby will get you paid more. Although a lot of Ruby positions are usually looking for some experience. It's like Django, a framework. Okay, that makes sense. I don't really do a lot of server-side app programming, so I'm a little bit out of my depth with that. What's up, 123? Steam is about to make Linux gaming basically flawless. I'm so hyped. Well, gaming on Linux is already pretty damn flawless as it is. The only issues I've been running into the past year or so are developers that choose to use the unethical kernel-level anti-cheat, which even on Windows, I wouldn't install myself. But we have some stuff to catch up on in review on stream that my mods and I wanted to look through. Goddamn! Vampire, you weren't kidding. I got a lot of crap to look through. Okay. Would you recommend enabling lockdown mode? Lockdown mode specifically in regards to... Lockdown mode refers to a few different things, that's why I'm asking. Like, specifically referring to what? iOS? You can, but just know there's going to be a lot of headaches with managing certain things with it, so yeah. Okay, so one of my mods wanted me to check out this video in the list of things. We're going to also have plenty more videos to check out tomorrow, too. Mint Mobile Internet versus T-Mobile 5G Internet. This is probably because I mentioned many times that I have a 5G home internet backup, and I talked about how T-Mobile had a little modem and stuff for like $20 a month that you can get with 50 gigabytes of internet. Mint Mobile, for those of you unaware, is basically T-Mobile being resold, but of course much better commercials with Ryan Reynolds. Hold on, the audio's not going through. Okay. My little automation script did not work. What the hell? Alright, hold on. It says it's going out. Interesting. So hold on. Properties. Let me try this. And boop. Why is it not working? It was just working before the stream. Good thing I checked that. Yeah, the music is working, but, that was not what I wanted it to do. It's supposed to have audio come out through here. Let's see, did that do it? Okay, I can hear it. But why are you not going through? Alright, I'm just curious if I do this directly. Okay, now it's working. Did I just have to activate it? F you, NVIDIA! For some reason, I had to, like, activate it a different way. The good old unplug it and plug it back in method. Alright, there we go. Yeah. But that did open another question over here, because I noticed something when I went over to here.
Front, left.
Okay, that explains something else that I was dealing with the other day.
Front, left.
Okay, yeah. Audio should be up. There we go. That was not a Linux issue. That was an NVIDIA sleep state issue. Anyway, this little script here is the reset pipewire sync project that I did. So I'm probably going to have to reload the page just so we can rehook back into pipewire.
Mint Mobile just dropped a brand new home internet service that they call Minternet. That's right, the ultra affordable, widely loved wireless carrier now sells home internet service. But what really got my attention is how similar this looks to T-Mobile's home internet. And that actually makes a lot of sense because Mint Mobile is just a budget sub-brand that is owned by T-Mobile.
Yep,
so
I mentioned that earlier.
Which of these should you actually get? Well, it's not as easy to answer as you may think because both services are so similar. You get the same unlimited 5G internet data, the same exact gateway that T-Mobile sends to their postpaid internet customers. The service runs on the same T-Mobile cell towers, so it's giving me the exact same speeds and performance as T-Mobile's postpaid internet service. Even the unboxing experience is nearly the same, except this one's got Mint Mobile branding on it.
Well, yeah, it's literally the same device.
I went over all the similarities between these two services, and that's why I probably won't make a full review of Minternet. If you're interested in that, just check out my T-Mobile home internet review from a few months ago where I deep dive into speeds, performance, and experience. Although I actually will say my setup experience with Minternet was pretty janky.
I will say this, when you do get these modems, they do have the capability to use an external antenna. I highly recommend attaching an external antenna. It made my internet speeds tremendously better. So I ran the antenna to the outside. Because 5G is more susceptible to physical barriers absorbing the cell signal. So put your antenna outside, and then even more important, find the direction of your 5G tower, because unlike 4G, where it's a little bit more, doesn't care as much, 5G definitely cares about how, like, your directionality to the tower and everything. I have one of these for my backup internet. T-Mobile has a $20 a month, 50 gigabyte backup internet plan. Like, specifically, I just have it for a backup, that if my main internet ever goes down, my PF Sense will flip over to the cell network within 10 seconds.
You first boot up the gateway.
I chose 10 seconds so it doesn't flap.
Screen, but don't use it since that's intended for T-Mobile postpaid internet and it takes you to their T-Life app. Instead,
that
look
is
for an email that
confusing.
Mint sent you with a username, then go to the login page on the Mint website, select Minternet, and then choose the option to reset your password. But that didn't work, so then I had to call customer service and have them restart my gateway, and then they told me to check the messages on the gateway screen to get a login code.
That was one of the janky things.
I needed to verify Minternet. It's an ad for cheap Caribbean. Not quite what I was looking for.
That's because it literally is a cell phone that can get text messages. So no joke, when I go over to my T-Mobile once in a while, I will get a spam text.
Eventually, I did get my login code and I got into my account, but I think that setup process has a lot of room to improve.
No, they didn't corner the
So what are
market, they just have
differences
more
then between
towers up.
Minternet and T-Mobile home internet. The big one is pricing. This is the Minternet pricing structure. You have to pay upfront for either 3, 6, or 12 months, just like Mint's wireless service. And the price per month changes depending on how many months you prepay for. And if you choose that 3-month option, you'll get those first 3 months at a discounted price.
I mean, overall, that's not bad, but I only needed a backup plan, so I paid $20 a month. 50 gigabytes is all I need per month because I don't see myself using more than that on the 5G plan, because at most we're talking like 3 days out of the year that I end up using it, but when the internet goes out, I need it.
So if you don't have Mint for your wireless service, your first 3 months would cost $40 a month, and then if you kept paying every 3 months, it would be $50 a month. If you pay every 6 months, that drops to $45 a month, and if you pay every 12 months, it drops to $40 a month. And if you have Mint Mobile as your wireless carrier and you have phone service with them, all these prices drop by $10 a month, meaning you can get unlimited 5G home internet for as low as $30 a month, meaning you can get unlimited.
Okay, now it's making more sense. Like, if I already have a Mint plan, which I do, not as my main. I have other phones that I have on it. That actually makes sense. $30 a month, $10 more a month to get better, more speeds and everything. But yeah.
Limited 5G home internet for as low as $30 a month if you pay by the year. So even though I'm breaking these prices down per month, the service is not month to month like you might be used to.
Right.
Instead, for example, this 12-month option would be $360 a year. And also, unlike internet providers you might be familiar with, there are no extra taxes or fees. Those are all included in the prices that are advertised. So what you see really is what you pay, and I was really surprised to see that for a service that already costs so low. So now let's contrast this with T-Mobile home internet. T-Mobile's main service has 3 different plans, but they all include the same core product: unlimited internet service and a 5G internet gateway. Where they differ is in the extras they include, like 24/7 setup support and even Hulu and Paramount Plus with the top tier all-in plan. That all-in plan also includes a mesh extender in case you have a bigger house and you need to cover more area. If you don't have T-Mobile,
he's not including the backup internet plan that I talk about.
$70 respectively, plus taxes and fees.
That's $20 a month.
As your wireless carrier, the prices go down to $35, $45, and $55 a month respectively. Now, in order to get those prices, you have to have autopay turned on, and the payment source has to be either a
20 is with
card,
autopay
a bank
too,
account, or T-Mobile's new credit card. Any other credit card or payment method will not get you those autopay discounts, and so if you don't get those discounts, then each of these plans will be $5 a month more.
Apple Pay doesn't get you the discount.
T-Mobile now sells fiber internet in select markets, but this video is only covering the fixed wireless product from both T-Mobile and Mint Mobile. That's the service that runs off of cell towers and uses a plug-and-play gateway. And speaking of that gateway, I mentioned earlier that Mint sends you the same gateway as T-Mobile does for their postpaid service, and that is true. All Minternet customers as of now get this G4AR gateway, and T-Mobile is still advertising this and sending this to postpaid customers.
Yep,
However,
that is the exact modem I have.
G5AR gateway, which might become a little bit more common for postpaid customers. Also, for what it's worth, Mint sent me a certified pre-owned gateway, so it had a couple tiny marks and dents on it, but you can barely tell, and I personally don't care.
You're literally gonna stick it in the corner, who cares?
Well, it largely depends on who you have for phone service. If you have T-Mobile, I'd say just get T-Mobile home internet. Just like I said in my full review of that service, either get the cheapest Rely plan, or if you have a bigger house and you want those included streaming services, get the all-in plan. I really don't recommend this middle amplified plan since it really doesn't give you much to justify the extra cost over the cheaper Rely plan. If you have Mint Mobile though, I'd probably recommend you get Minternet. It's insanely cheap, especially if you pay by the year, and it's just a fantastic service for that price. Now, where it gets interesting is if you don't have T-Mobile or Mint Mobile as your wireless carrier. What do you do then? Between the two, I'd honestly say it depends on whether you'd prefer to prepay for an extended period of time or get a more traditional postpaid month-to-month service. But what if you have Verizon or AT&T as your wireless carrier? After all, they also sell fixed wireless service. We'll start with AT&T, who calls their fixed wireless product Internet Air. They have one plan, and it includes unlimited data on the AT&T wireless
I'm not a
network,
big fan of AT&T, I'll be honest.
Features for $47 a month when bundled with wireless, or $60 a month without. Verizon has 3 5G home internet plans that are pretty similar to T-Mobile: 5G Home, 5G Home Plus, and 5G Home Ultimate, but unlike all the other providers we've seen so far, they cap your speeds, even on the top plan, which can limit your performance compared to T-Mobile, Mint Mobile, or AT&T Internet Air. 5G Home costs $50 a month, or $35 when bundled with Verizon wireless service. 5G Home Plus costs $60 a month.
Oh, they do the 600 megahertz and 2.5.
5G Home Ultimate costs $75 a month, or $60 a month bundled with wireless. Compared to Verizon and AT&T, I think T-Mobile and Mint offer much better fixed wireless services. Pricing is more competitive, and there's no speed caps like Verizon's home service. However, if those carriers offer better wireless service at your house, then I'd consider those over T-Mobile or Mint. So that's Minternet, and I really like what T-Mobile is doing here, giving more people access to their solid 5G home internet at a more affordable price. If you found this interesting, then definitely check out my T-Mobile home internet review and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.
You know, the Minternet isn't that bad of a plan, I think.
The new iPhone,
considering what you get with it. Because like I said, I have the 50 gigabyte T-Mobile plan, which is $20 a month for my backup internet, but it's a backup internet. Like, I am barely using that. I maybe use it like I said, 3, maybe at most 4 days out of the year, and most of the time that's in a down situation. How to play Valorant on Linux. Step 1, find a better game. Like, seriously, let me, like I said before, even if I were still gaming on Windows, I would not play a game with kernel-level anti-cheat. And Valorant has one of the most invasive kernel-level anti-cheats. I saw so many friends that hit me up, they're like, bro, my computer keeps blue screening, what's going on? We found out it was the anti-cheat in Valorant that was causing it. So, yeah. Okay, so this is another video my mods wanted me to check out.
When it comes to smartphones,
police hate that they can't hack these smartphones. Now, the logo that he had on there was Graphene OS, which I have on one of my phones.
I generally recommend Android, not because they provide better privacy and security. I think that title actually goes to iOS when compared to vanilla Android.
I've said the same thing, and people want to put my head on a pike for that.
But the real reason I recommend it, especially on a Google Pixel, is because of the fact that the OS is less locked down in that implementation. You can gain root access to your device and modify any of the system files, and you can de-Google your phone, which means removing every single pre-installed Google service from it, giving you much better privacy.
That's changing right now because of Android open source. Google's throwing a wrench in AOSP. They're no longer bundling the drivers, as I recall, and they're stagnating the updates and all that. So, it's hurting Lineage, Graphene, and Calyx. So there are... Graphene's talking about how they have another big phone vendor that apparently is going to be coming out with a Graphene OS phone, so it no longer will specifically have Pixel. Now, I do have a Pixel 7a that has Graphene, before we get into this. Sorry I'm pausing so much.
And you can even swap out the entire operating system for something different without having to leave the bootloader unlocked. But imagine if just having a Google Pixel phone resulted in you getting harassed by your local police, because the moment they see you answer a call or send a text on it, they assume that you must be a criminal attempting to contact your fellow criminal associates. Well, this is actually the reality right now in Catalina. The national
Oh,
police
really?
there have been ramping up their war on drugs, and in the age of smartphones, most of this warfare is conducted in the digital space by the police conducting mass online surveillance of people and even attempting to hack into suspects and their associates' devices with malware. So, of course, the unlicensed pharmaceutical
That is
distributors in
such an
Catalina started
ethical
stepping up
cross
their
line.
digital security by using encrypted communication apps and even going so far as to install Graphene OS on their Pixel phones. Now, in case you didn't know, Graphene OS is a custom ROM that you can install pretty much just exclusively on Pixel phones, which improves the privacy and security of that Android implementation from the bottom up. And frankly, it creates one of the most secure smartphones
thoughts on
that a
UK's ruling of
civilian can
ADP?
easily get in their hands. Way more private and secure than even
UK
an
can go
iPhone.
suck my...
Graphene OS also provides a lot of tracking mitigations by limiting the fingerprinting capability of apps, and Graphene OS is completely de-Googled. So a lot of that tracking information from things like Google Maps, Google Chrome, the Google search engine that police agencies around the world rely on to track people just isn't available if you're using Graphene OS. There's lots of granular settings to control what apps are able to access on your phone.
It's also sandboxing
and
everything.
Graphene OS provides dozens of user profiles that you can use to further separate what data your apps have access to. And law enforcement are particularly frustrated with Graphene OS's mitigations against both consensual and non-consensual data extractions.
Yep.
Now, I don't really know much about this country's laws or how their law enforcement operates, but here in the United States, if you're arrested, or even if you're detained for an investigation by the police, there's a good chance that they're going to want to go through your phone if they think that it contains any evidence of a crime. And like I said, we're in a digital age, so obviously a lot of criminals are using their phones in the process of doing crime. Now,
And in
with
this
a
day and age,
consent-based
thinking
search,
the
as
wrong
it's
way
called,
is a
the
crime,
police are going
apparently.
to ask you to enter the code on your phone and unlock it for them. But of course, if you have thumbprint unlock or Face ID enabled, then there's a good chance that the police can force you to unlock the phone that way by just scanning your face or making.
Okay, pause for a second. This is exactly why I tell people I don't want to use biometrics on my phone, and I never recommend it. And I got pushback from people when I said, especially with, police illegally detaining people. We saw there were people that were legal citizens of the country that have been, detained, had their phones searched, things like that. They're like, well, if you press your phone this many times, or, they do the... Proactive security is always better than reactive. There's always going to be a fine line between convenience and security. I would rather have to enter a passcode every time than even open up the possibility that a cop could, breach my rights, access my devices without my authorization by just holding it up to my face or using my finger. And some people out there may be saying, well, what are you doing to get the police involved? There's been a lot of situations that not just I myself have been in, where we have been completely in the right, and police have detained people for the wrong reasons. I have actually been stopped by police while conducting my job in cybersecurity. Because in a prior gig, I had to do physical penetration tests. I had authorization to go through this company's building, and I got detained by the police, and they were completely in the wrong because I even had a letter on me from the employer in case of such a situation, that it was so easy that, if the employer, if one of the representatives of the company wasn't there to actually, say the situation going on and then prove I was there, my lawyer would have had an easy time getting me out. Just put it that way. Now, I know some of you may be saying that's kind of a gray area situation, but there's been situations I know with family members who happen to be of a certain more brown color, because I am Moroccan. A lot of people don't know that. that have been detained even though they are legal U.S. citizens. I have one cousin that has been detained, I think he said like 3 times so far. It's ridiculous. But that is why I tell people it's better to have a passcode on your phone than rely on biometrics. Because that is legally the statute when it comes to the United States. You cannot compel someone to give up a passcode, but you can to give up something they are. There's something you know, which then applies to your constitutional right. I think it's the Fifth Amendment. And then there's something you are, which is your fingerprint, your face.
Maybe getting your fingerprint.
Police hassled me once for smoking some pulled pork.
If you don't have,
I can believe it.
And you
although, you know, some of us Jewish police would probably do the same thing. I'm joking.
refuse to unlock your phone, then the police are going to seize it from you and probably arrest you as well. And back at their headquarters or in a mobile forensic unit, they're going to connect your phone to a device that's going to attempt to hack into it and extract all of the data from your phone.
Yep.
And then they'll be able to see everything that you had on it. Now, the success of this data extraction mostly relies in keeping the phone in its after first unlock or AFU mode. This is the setting that phones are pretty much always in unless you power them off or you reboot the phone. And in this state, in the AFU state, the decryption keys for your phone's file system are saved in its RAM. And so with Cellbrite's hacking tools that they provide to law enforcement, they're able to, most of the time, recover that data from most phone models that are in the AFU mode. But once a device is rebooted, and then before the PIN code is put into it, the phone is in what's called before first unlock, or BFU mode. Biometric unlock usually gets disabled in BFU mode, and the encryption keys are not saved into the device's RAM. So the attack surface is much smaller, and typically the only way to reliably get data off a phone in this mode is to guess the PIN. And the secure element that's in more modern smartphones makes that brute forcing process much, much harder. Graphene OS has a feature that automatically reboots your phone every 18 hours.
You can change that timer,
which puts it into the before first unlock mode. Newer versions of vanilla Android also have a similar feature, but it's not enabled by default, and I think when you do enable it by default, it only reboots your phone every 3 days or so. So anyway, if you're using Graphene OS and you haven't gone out of your way to turn off that security setting, then the police are going to have 18 hours at best to try and hack into your phone and try to extract the encryption keys from RAM before it reboots, and then this process becomes pretty much impossible.
Okay, pause for a second. Now, I've heard that allegedly, even if your phone is on and it's, unlocked, it's still hard for them to extract data from the phone because of Graphene OS's hardenings. It's like an onion. They have layers upon layers upon layers of security. That's why I keep telling people, look, even though I personally have an issue with the developers of the Graphene OS community, not for the work they do, but because of the attitude they have around it. The same issues Louis Rossman and other content creators have talked about that they have with them, where my issue was I was on Mastodon. I've talked about this before, and, I'm a tech creator. I review different devices. This was a Librem 5, and all I did was mention before going to DEF CON 31 that I'm getting a Pixel 7a to install Graphene OS on so I can have a secure phone while I travel. This was my first DEF CON, so I wasn't really sure of what I was getting into, so I'm like, let me harden myself as best as possible, but still not give up the convenience of a phone or anything. And I'd made the comment that I am also waiting for my Librem 5 to test it out, and maybe this will be a good reason for me to compare the two devices. That's all I did. Just saying the normal thing I would, which is, hey, I got this coming in, I got this right now. When I get both, I'll compare them. The developers on Mastodon went into this whole diatribe and rant Several of my followers actually saw this on Mastodon. Other people that have never interacted with me saw this on Mastodon and started going after Graphene because they're like, dude, all he was saying was he's comparing the two devices. You went off on this tangent. And this is the one thing I always have said. I've said it many times. I judge a company or a project by how they portray themselves. And if your thing is, well, we're better than this project over here, and not standing up on your own two legs, that's not a good argument for me. In the case of Graphene OS, they could stand on their own two legs. But then they went about this whole thing, and I was like, you need to understand, there's more ways to skin a cat than just what you're talking about. And I made the point of, not everyone has access to a Pixel phone, and your phones, Graphene OS is specifically still reliant on a Pixel phone. And some people don't want to be dependent upon Google, because here's the thing. To get a Google Pixel, the vanilla Google Pixel, you can't just go to a provider and get their version. You have to get the vanilla one. Because when I went to T-Mobile, got the phone from them, it wouldn't work with Graphene OS. I had to return it and get one directly from Google. You have to have a Google account to pay for the Google Pixel from Google. Which means, ironically, in order to go for the path of de-Googling yourself and have the most secure phone, you have to have a Google account. Do you see the problem there? And that's basically what I was telling them, was not everyone has access to it, and you're still not completely de-Googled as long as you're on a Google Pixel. Now, that part of the equation is starting to change now because of the Android open source project issues that I talked about earlier. But, needless to say, that is still a sour note that I have in my head from dealing with that project. Again, I like Graphene OS. I just think the developers need some serious courses in PR and how to manage their perception and how to respond to people and understand not everyone is going to see things in their way, and there's more than one way to skin a cat. I went on a tangent. Anyway, continuing.
Graphene OS also disables USB-C connections and data transfers from new devices until the phone is unlocked and the connection is allowed. So those mitigations would also have to be bypassed before the Cellbrite can even start trying to hack into Graphene.
That's twisted. It's a little bit twisted, yeah.
For the so-called consensual data extractions, where you give up your phone password to the police or unlock it for them, possibly under duress, Graphene OS has a mitigation for that, which is very appropriately called Duress PIN. Essentially, this is a secondary PIN that you can enter.
It's a landmine!
That will wipe your device and any eSIMs that are installed into it. And if you do use fingerprint unlock, then Graphene OS limits the number of attempts to 5. So you have a much better chance of doing 5 false unlocks, like using the wrong fingers, or maybe if you've got your hands behind your back and police are trying to force you to unlock it, you can, either present the wrong finger or maybe just mess it up enough to get it to disable fingerprint unlock and then require the PIN. Whereas in vanilla Android, I think you get 20 or so attempts. So yeah, obviously 5 is going to be much more secure. The multi-profile feature also allows you to log into one profile.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a developer that took it personal for a reason.
So you could have a default
unnecessarily
profile that doesn't have any sensitive data on it that you unlock instead as a way to comply with a warrant or, comply with your password being requested under duress, without actually giving up any incriminating evidence. However, if the phone does end up getting rebooted, then the admin profile actually does need to be logged into before any other profile can be logged into.
Yep.
So Graphene OS, along with good OPSEC, really gives you a major privacy and security boost, so much so to the point that law enforcement agents are starting to profile people just based on the type of smartphone they choose to use. And obviously, from a distance. The cops can't tell if you're using Graphene OS or Lineage OS or anything else. They would actually have to get up close and personal to verify that. And I'm sure that 9 times out of 10 people in Catalina are just using stock Android on their Google Pixel.
I would believe so.
But imagine
most people
how
don't know about
triggered
this unless you're in the know.
police over there would be if they actually did start discovering Graphene OS every single time, or at least most of the time, that they just...
At least it's legitimate, unlike the Anom phone. We talked about that before.
You have 2 phones, and you're trying to do a side-by-side comparison of a regular Pixel phone that's running stock vanilla Android, and then one running Graphene OS. The police over there might actually think that you're Pablo Escobar. So I guess that's a great way to troll police who don't...
I have 4 phones. Granted, one of those is provided by work. So I have 3 phones. Granted, one of those is specifically just for TikTok, because Samsung is the better camera and TikTok is an ADHD hellhole I'd rather keep in a whole other phone, so that way I don't get disrupted on my personal phone. So granted, I have 2 phones I'll carry.
Want the citizens of their country to have any decent privacy. Get a second Pixel phone and just casually install Graphene OS on it. Use it as like a portable MP3 player or whatever. Just use it. And you know what? If you really want to mess with them, install Signal on it too, and just occasionally text yourself on Signal and give yourself a username on there that sounds like some sort of drug kingpin. That's probably the best way to speedrun going to jail in Catalina. But unironically, you should install Graphene
Signal
OS on
and Matrix.
if you want to have better privacy. And you just don't want the police to be actively scanning what you're doing and monitoring and tracking you, because they're literally doing that to everybody. It's not even people who are suspects, just tracking
don't want
where everybody
corporations doing it
goes,
all the
and then
time.
they filter out suspects from that data. So install Graphene OS today, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it to hack the algorithm. And check out my online store, base.win, where you can buy my awesome merch or accessories for your phone or laptop. 10%.
Yep, I've been using Graphene OS for a few years. I like it. It's nice. I recommend it. Like I said, developers are kind of a little bit toxic for other reasons. They've apparently had the run-ins with a few creators and other individuals on Mastodon and other platforms, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next video. Let's see how many videos we can get until about 10-ish or so. Because I do want to get to bed early. Because tomorrow I want to get up early so I can build the home theater PC. Or not the LLM, but yeah.
We're gonna jump right into it today. This is the Framework Desktop, the much anticipated Framework Desktop. Now for this video, I want you to forget the word desktop. Just forget it, forget that it exists. Don't think about this as a desktop.
What is that again?
Good job, Lupe. This computer has it spec'd out with 128 gigabytes of RAM,
Okay.
$2,300.
Jesus!
Now don't click off yet, because it's not Framework's fault that the APU costs so much money. Because all the other mini PCs, there's about 15 mini PCs right now that use the same APU, similarly priced. Other mini PCs are around $2,000.
Though the base model with the Ryzen Max 385 does start at $1,099, granted you have to bring your own NVMe, OS, and CPU fan. But who even wants a desktop with soldered CPU and RAM? Well,
It's meant for AI or local LLMs. Now I know I use the word AI and I joke about AI, everything's AI, AI this, AI that. This is for local LLMs that people actually use. Why would you spend $2,000 on something like this?
I just don't
And
know
it's
what LLMs
the
are
reason,
optimized
after
for
using this thing, I'm
AMD
so
when
impressed by
everything's
it.
optimized for NVIDIA.
It's fucking nice, man. This thing has opened my mind to how far we've actually come in terms of efficiency. It's efficient. It is very efficient.
Okay, pausing for a second. So, in comparison, this would probably be easier to compare it to not a regular computer, but the NVIDIA DGX Spark, which I've talked about I want to get. That's about a $4,000 computer. It has a 20-core ARM CPU and 128 gigabytes of RAM. So it's a similar device to this, but that's an x86 box. So either way, you're probably going to be running Linux on it. The one issue, as I said a little bit earlier, I'm not sure what LLMs and workflows are capable of running on AMD primarily because I haven't worked on the AMD side, because I know everything is optimized for NVIDIA. That's why I have NVIDIA GPUs for everything that I do. It's just everything's for CUDA, everything is, you know, Tensor. So I'm curious to see what you're capable of doing on this little guy here. Maybe it is worth a better buy to get that. I can save money now and then, one can keep getting money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets, ADHD. Thank you for that prime sub there, Dr. Illusion. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. 2 subs in 1 stream. Nice. It's been a while. All right, so let's continue.
Yes, you can get something more powerful for $2,000. Can you get something as a power efficient for $2,000 in this form factor?
Yeah, you're right. For
desktop heatsink and this temperature, no. Can you get one that has modular ports in the front? There's 2 modular ports. No, and it also has a PCIe 4x4 port. You can't use it in this case, but because it's a mini ITX motherboard, you can just take it out and use it elsewhere. That's where Framework excels. I just wish they never said it was the Framework desktop. That's...
Oh, what do you say, a by 4 slot?
That's... No. And it also has a PCIe 4x4 port.
You can't slap a GPU in... Well, you could. You could technically if you wanted to. Physically chop off the slot so like you could get it down to a 4x, but would you not? You can sub on TikTok, but TikTok's kind of weird with live streams.
You can't use it in this case, but because it's a...
But you can over on
you can just take it out
Twitch
and use it elsewhere.
And I think
That's
the
where
YouTube.
Framework excels. I just wish they never said it was the Framework desktop. That's... I think they just pigeonholed themselves because everybody was expecting some sort of revolutionary kind of like Lego
I think I have to agree with him. I wouldn't have called it a desktop.
Legos, right? It's pretty straightforward. They should have called it, in my opinion, they should have called it something else, like Frame Workstation or Framework with the AI.
I can see that.
Framework Box. Or just something. Something.
Or a mini server.
When I initially heard that Framework was making a desktop, I was pumped. And then I saw it had soldered RAM. And I'm like, what the hell? That's not Framework. What's going on here? I'll stop. I'm going to lead with this right here because I know that's what you guys are thinking. Soldered RAM, right off the bat. Come on, dude. It's the antithesis.
Photosynthesis.
It's the photosynthesis of Framework's ideas. Thank you, Lupe. According to Framework, Framework's worked to
hey, thank you for the follow, you know who.
Explore installing cam RAM in here instead of the soldered RAM that's in there right now. Right now it has DDR5X 8000 RAM. Very fast.
Yeah, I would have done with the cam RAM.
It's chunky. You can go up to 128 gigabytes. That's what this one is. This is a sample model. I can't keep this. They're not paying me for this either. Unfortunately, I'm gonna steal this thing. They don't know that yet. So Framework talked with AMD directly to try to get cam RAM installed in here. Cam RAM, and it was sketchy. The signal integrity was sketchy, and the bandwidth like nearly halved.
I don't know what's with the alerts not going off. Thank you for the tier 1 sub over there. Thank you for that. You know who. Appreciate that.
That said, this uses the new AMD Strix Halo APU. It's an expensive APU, and the name is ridiculous. AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. During this video, I'm just gonna say
whoever does their product naming needs to be smacked.
Is everybody okay with that? Or can we just meet somewhere in the middle here? It's a very niche APU. Framework saw this and was like, hey, what if
appreciate you know who?
Put it in a desktop with a mini ITX motherboard and a desktop heatsink. The benefit of this machine as well, you can dedicate this much VRAM in Linux and this much VRAM in Windows. And for LLMs,
why would you use it in Windows?
Boo! Somebody that wants to run LLMs locally, they need something that's power efficient. They want something that's customizable. Yes.
Why?
Easy to replace non-proprietary hardware, and you want to support a company whose goal is sustainability and repairability, which this is repairable. Upgradable when it comes to the RAM and CPU? No. Repairable? Yes. Everything else is modular. Everything else is labeled as well. If you're interested in LLM performance and how this thing actually performs in LLMs, this video isn't for you. I'm sure there's another video that shows you how this chip handles LLMs and all that stuff. This is more of a hardware dive and just a general overall
I want
view
that
of the
video!
desktop.
The what?
Exactly.
Vampire,
So the
get me
thing
that
is this,
video!
the GMK Tech Evo X2. There's always got to be an X in these things. And right now that one's like $2,000 and it comes with a 2 terabyte drive. Amazing, right? Whoa! It's proprietary. And God forbid you ever need support. I don't know about GMK Tech. I don't know exactly what their support is like, but
I've had a
I'll say the
GMK Tech box. They're not the greatest of support.
Every other APU that this platform uses proprietary parts. Nobody does it like this. And that's one of the benefits. That's who this is for. Somebody that wants to be able to customize this chip specifically. Now, what was it like
Okay, I gotta
unboxing
look
it?
up.
Well,
Unboxing this took longer than the actual setup did. Framework are Tetris masters, and of course they managed to fit everything inside this tiny box. And in pure Framework fashion, everything has a QR code. The transparent panel, which was a $40 option, sits on top with the optional Noctua fan underneath, which was $29 extra. The handle was vertically tucked in the right side with directions printed on it. The accessory box has the power cord, which was a $5 option, along with the 21 black and red tiles I selected for the front panel. Now these tiles aren't included in the base price, and they cost $10 to $15 per pack of 7, depending on what type you get. You can 3D print your own or get ones with pre-printed designs as you see here. And because I'm special, they made me a tiny raccoon-like tile. The expansion cards aren't included by default either. I selected these ones during customization, and these are the prices of those. Now since this is a review unit, they included a ton of extras. Last up is the 2 terabyte WD Black SN7100, and of course, the device itself. The case measures these dimensions and weighs this much. It also comes with stickers and a screwdriver that will allow.
I judge your products by if you include stickers or not. We in the cyber community like our stickers. Those are all the ones I got from DEF CON and B-Sides, by the way, past several years.
You to service the entire device. And here's a before and after of all the things I unboxed, and the unfortunate pile of packaging that came from everything. Now to be fair, this is 100% recyclable material, but it was also a pain in the ass to unbox all of this.
That's still a lot of trees, though, even though it's recyclable. The rainforest is upset. You've made that Native American guy cry in those 1980s ads about not littering.
With that said, it's time to put it together.
I haven't been this excited about a desktop in a very long time.
You don't say, huh?
I was just cleaning.
Oh.
Really?
You keep it.
Doesn't everybody? So it ships with this cover right here.
Nice plastic.
It is very nice plastic. Now I do have to send this back, so unfortunately I can't damage it too much. And I scanned the barcode so I'd know how to take it apart.
To get the top panel off, you need to unscrew these 2 D-rings, and you can keep those D-rings in there in place of the handlebar afterwards if you'd like.
Top 2 screws are out. It slides right out.
And with the top cover removed, we have access to the APU fan, RGB connector, and a second system fan. But for now, I'm just going to use my tiny raccoon-like fingers to install the APU fan. The fan then mounts onto the heatsink and is covered by a small plastic lip that ensures it sucks cold air from the holes located in the side of the case. Install the 4 screws that are provided, and then put the panel on. Last up is to install our expansion cards that slide right in. And even if my USB-C cord is a little short, since these are the same expansion cards found in the other Framework devices,
that is
I can
nice.
borrow a few from my Framework 16 if I'm ever in a pinch. Now that the
Why?
assembly is finished, let's take a look at the front panel and the rest of the hardware.
Now front panel is connected with magnets. The magnets, how do they work? Framework knows. These are all swappable. Now there's a concern that I had, and we'll see later if this makes a difference, but when I was using it last night, you see this? This is where a fan can go. I felt heat coming out of.
What the hell, TikTok? I'm not recommending anyone to buy products outside of TikTok. I'm telling people about I have to contact my TikTok rep about this. This is getting ridiculous. I'm literally talking about other hardware, stuff you cannot buy on TikTok. I hate that platform. Okay? So sorry, TikTok people. You're about to get your stream reset. Okay? So you're going to have to come back if you want to be on TikTok, or, join a big boy streaming platform like YouTube and Twitch and Kick. So hold on. Gotta restart the TikTok stream. Because my live visibility was restricted. Yeah. Gotta frickin' grab the new frickin' key. Frickin'. I seriously hate TikTok. I seriously do. I know it's my largest platform. I'm thankful I built my community starting there. Don't get me wrong. I love my community. I hate TikTok. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Did I mention that I hate them? Okay, so we're back with TikTok. Hello, TikTok. I missed you all.
Of this, because the CPU fan blows right onto the heatsink, and there's no other fan actually pulling air out. The PSU has its own little air hole right here, which is pretty cool. PSU also got super hot. It's a 400 watt flex ATX PSU. So again, it's a modular PSU. You can put it into something else if you'd like. I'm curious, if you load up the front panel with nothing but the solid ones, will it affect the temperatures? Probably not, but I'm curious. This handle is amazing. A few screws.
Okay, I do like that.
Pops off. Pops right off. And then, top panel comes out. You wouldn't believe how many times I tried lifting the desktop like this when I was working on it. Of course, it's not happening right now, and that happened. But it would happen after the desktop came up a few inches. Don't tell Framework. Power button right here, also modular. So you can replace the power button if you need to.
On one hand, I like that handle, but like with the handle sticking out like that, I would think you'd be able to stack it. But the fact that the fan is on the side means I can't stack it. So one of the you know, negative marks I'm going to have to give it, and this is again my niche negative mark here, because I'm thinking about, like, if I were running this for an LLM box, I'd want to probably get a few of them to distribute a load across them. I would want to rack mount it. But if I can't rack mount it with them on top of each other, that becomes an issue.
Side panel, this is the transparent case. They also have the black one. This is, I think, $40 extra, or you can just get the black one that's here. I like transparent. I like being able to see inside my tech. You know me. The fans, obviously, I showed you in the unboxing. Fans.
Transparent tech is really underrated. I like transparent stuff. Bring back that at 90s and early 2000s aesthetic, please.
The options are listed right here. Or you can just bring your own fan.
RGB!
One of my favorite things about this.
Put an Oxua in.
RGB integrated into this machine. They don't force RGB on you.
Good!
They do have RGB headers, though, if you want RGB.
No!
That's your thing. Go right ahead.
No!
Pure Framework fashion again. That's your RGB right there. Everything's labeled. So we have the APU fan right there, and we have a second fan right there. And I think there's one more fan. Yeah, there's another fan connector right there. But let's ask.
We don't want RGB!
One NVMe slot in the front.
No!
And there is one NVMe slot in the back.
That's kind of nice.
Wi-Fi 7 card. The CMOS battery, don't eat it.
You got a TD radio with transparent plastic. Yeah! I love my TID radio, the H8.
I know it says
with the translucent case. Love it. It's nice.
Card, which we have here.
I partially got it because of the translucent.
I actually can fit another NVMe slot in here. This costs like $15. So if you do need storage, more storage, and you don't want to take it out of the case or spend a crap ton of money or whatever, just keep that in mind. We have 8 screws.
You could put a 10 gig card in there.
All these screws are the same size. Flip it around, and you have the rest of the 8. And this thing comes right up.
The greatest technician that's ever lived.
I love how they have extra screws, by the way. Very helpful.
Oh, that is a nice little thing, because we're always going to lose a screw.
And then 4 screws.
Because I have a screw loose.
And this Cooler Master heatsink is the reason this beefy Ryzen is allowed to spread its wings without being limited by thermal throttling like on the other devices it's implemented in.
This is what I'm most curious about. I want to see the PTM underneath here, but I need
only
to finish
one.
Removing the case first. So I'm not going to read any.
Listen, Abby.
Any tutorials, because who needs tutorials, right? I'm me. Power supply looks like it probably comes out first, or at least needs to get loosened for the chassis to come out. These screws are.
It's probably the QR code that triggered TikTok the last time, I swear.
I don't know what all these screws are. These are the Wi-Fi antennas, those two right there. I know what those screws are. So where should we start? I guess just start left to right then, huh? So these screws, looks like, are these different? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. God bless Framework. Every screw is the same except for the power supply screws right now. So technically, you could take this main board and just connect a 5090 to it through the NVMe slot or the PCIe 4 slot in the front, and you'll have like a computer that takes up, 100 watts under full load compared to a graphics card that takes like 10 times that. It's just absolutely insane how far we've come. Is this just for the power button, or?
Okay, so I was trying to look up benchmarks for this. So it looks like it's not bad performance. This is the Strix Halo Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. So the same CPU. All testing was done on pre-production Framework desktop. So it looks like it's got decent performance in here. I'd have to compare it to an NVIDIA DGX Spark. But, could be a decent unit, honestly, for cost-effective performance. I might pick one up myself, to be honest. Oh, you can throw a 30B model on there? Oh, nice. Yeah, oh, nice. Oh, they're not even, like, hammering it. Like, look at that. It, like, the heaviest one is DOTS 1. Okay, I'm gonna have to, like, check that out.
Or does this actually connect something together? It looks like that's just the power button. We'll disconnect it anyways. Please forgive all the noise in the background. We're still setting up the shop. Now it's time to remove the main board. So we're gonna unplug the front panel pins, which of course are standard front panel pins, and it's wired very nicely through these little rubber thingamabobbins. And this is the power button. Standard power button, nothing fancy. I'm gonna unplug the USB, I think this is the USB 3 header, I would assume. There's two of them, actually I lied. I'm gonna undo the heatsink first. I don't know if even my fingers can get there. Who am I kidding? They can. So I'm gonna unplug the power supply first. Power supply comes up. It's a 24-pin Flex ATX, which I just learned what that was 24 hours ago. So, and then there's the CPU pin.
I've dealt with Flex ATX.
CPU connector, and that's all the power supply is.
So standard ATX.
Take the power supply
Nice.
out without first removing the motherboard, though. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's why I wanted to unplug all that first. Motherboard looks like it's held in by 4 screws. These screws are different from the rest of the screws. And I'm curious, do I need that screwdriver if I just have the Framework screwdriver? Can I do it with that? Of course I can, because Framework actually cares. And they don't want you to have to buy your own tools. But is it magnetic?
Womp, womp.
Really, Framework? It would have cost you like 50 cents to include a magnetizer. Seriously.
Not magnetic? Come on! How am I supposed to repair my AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 Framework desktop without a magnetic screwdriver?
The what?
Alright, last screw for the motherboard is in the corner right here. That's gonna come right out. And now the motherboard should just lift up.
Wow.
And of course, you should probably disconnect the Wi-Fi cables before you do all this. Greatest technicians ever lived. And now the motherboard is actually removed. So this is our first look at the raw Framework desktop motherboard. Made in April. And I'm touching it with my bare hands. Everything has a code to replace. Every single thing has a code. I absolutely love it.
The other thing I like is look how they have the thermal pad right here for the Wi-Fi card. That's a nice touch.
For the love of God, imagine a phone number. You can call them. I can.
You can call them and get a human for your AI machine.
Wow, look at that tube, huh?
Yeah, I vape. It is a 400 watt flex.
I was gonna make another comment, but
and you can get a replacement right
TikTok
there.
makes me have to censor myself.
And it does have a fan. That is a tiny little fan right there. And of course the fan is replaceable. So you take off these 4 screws, You can remove the little vape stick right there.
We call that a shroud, sir.
Come right out. Very impressive. 400 watts, man. Wild. Remember back in the day, 400 watts, dude. It was a whole box.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast.
The 2 USB connectors are also modular, of course, as you can see. And that's how to get off the bottom panel that I was struggling with. But when the framework's like this, you can put a GPU of some sort here. I have an SSD at home. I couldn't fit in there a 16 terabyte SSD. If I just take the case off, I could fit that 16 terabyte SSD because it comes out a little right here. So I guess if you ever have storage issues and you do want to keep the framework, you can still use this. You will have to take it out of the case if you want to install something else to it. No other mini PC has a PCIe port like that. They have Oculink ports, maybe, but not a PCIe port like that. So shout out to Framework for that one. I'm very interested in this, of course, the heatsink, because this uses PTM 7958. Yes, 8 more than what I put on my refurbished
Framework
laptop.
desktop or the newer one? This is their AI workstation one.
First look at the AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395. That is it.
That's a beefy CPU.
Absolutely amazing. So this is the RAM. So it looks like it's micron memory.
And the star of the show, the AMD Ryzen AI Mouthful Plus. And finally, the part you've all been waiting for, how does it game? To test this, I took it home the night before.
I don't care if it
and
games.
Bazite to get my Cyberpunk.
I want to do my LLM stuff.
I understand why companies are marketing this APU as an AI gaming box. Because at high settings with 1440p and FSR 3.0 set to balance,
Okay,
I never
to be fair, that
dropped
might
under
be nice.
60 FPS, and the benchmark had an average of 78.44 FPS. It did all this while consuming 100 watts under load and never going above 60C. That's insane. And for giggles, I installed Windows 11 to compare results, and as expected, the raw FPS was even better, coming in at 92.71 compared to the 78.44 on Bazite. But Bazite definitely played it smoother. Now I expect it to be even more now that FSR 4.0 was just released for Cyberpunk today, but I unfortunately don't have time to test it. But it's safe to say this can comfortably play any AAA game or emulator at 1440p when you're not using it to process models. As for the BIOS, well, it was pretty basic. You have the ability to control the fan speed and the other usual options, but here it is in case anyone sees something interesting that you want me to explore
inside
further.
BIOS,
Now,
it's
I'm using my
nothing
tiny
fancy.
office
I've used it
becoming
before.
as hot as Satan's apple while gaming, but this thing is so efficient, it felt weird not being covered in sweat by the time I was finished. And when I was finished, the handle proved itself useful while transporting it to my shop, so that's a nice touch on Framework's part. And now that we're back at the shop, it's time to give it some proper stress testing.
It's not USB. You can't do it 3 times over.
And it does have 2 display ports, 1 HDMI port, 2 USBs. These all output video. The front ones do not output video, so you can't output through USB-C in the front if you were going to try to do that. And I do have Windows 11 Pro installed on here right now. Now this APU runs so cool with this desktop heatsink. I don't even hear this fan half the time. Even when I was heavy gaming, I didn't know if the fan was on or not. So right away we'll open HW info. So we're idling right now at 47 degrees. 47. Of course we just turned it on. But regardless, the fan isn't even on. Fan's not even on yet. That's how cool this thing runs, dude. So because of this big heatsink, it can unleash 120 watts that the APU is designed for. Where a lot of the other devices that have this same APU is limited to like a certain wattage because of the heat. It can also go to 140 temporarily. So right now we're running Steel Nomad and the fan just kicked on. So the fan wasn't on this entire time and it just kicked on. So we're probably around, I would guess, 80C or something like that. We'll see. I have HW info in the background, so I'm curious what it is. But I just want to see how well the GPU kind of handles these tests. That's it. And that's with I dedicated 32 gigabytes of the VRAM on this one out of the 128. So that's that. Of course, you know, it's an iGPU, so it's not going to be insane. But the iGPU is comparable to like a 4060, in between a 4060 and 4070.
It's still not bad.
The CPU, I'm curious how the CPU is going to do, though. All right, so Cinebench R23.
But I wouldn't buy this for gaming. This is more of an LLM workstation kind of load.
And ironically, the CPU fan shut off right before the test. The fan never spins. That's how friggin' efficient this thing is. Like, I hate repeating myself, but it's insane. There it is. That is f***ing bananas. My 5800X, I know my 5800X is 5 years old, but it also runs at like 6,000 watts. And, you know, I had to undervolt it just to stop it from overheating. And this thing just got 35,000 multi-core, and the fan didn't even spin. It did spin, but like it's nuts, man. But for $2,000, it better be fucking nuts. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. Let's see what the single core is. And now we have our single core test, 2030, MP 70.29. I'm not a test spurt. I'm not Salem test spurt either. So all these stress tests and stuff, you know me, I'm not used to this. So we've been running the stress test, the CPU-Z stress test for quite a few minutes now, like 10 minutes. And the package power has been at a consistent 99.9. Sometimes it hits 100. The temperatures have been solid. Around, it's under 70 degrees this entire time.
I'd love to throw some LLM inference loads on that.
This thing. Can't even hear this thing. This is absolutely insane. I mean, this CPU, this AMD Ryzen AI Max Plus 395 really is the future of mobile computing. Straight up. It's impressive. I kind of see why you would want this as an LLM locally. So you can index your Pokedex, you can search for everything you need to search for. I'm curious though, will the temps rise if I block this top panel with nothing but the solid tiles? Will the temps go up? Because you can feel the heat coming off of this thing right here. Like, it's blowing in my face. It tastes like Taiwan.
What the hell?
So every single panel that's solid is going to come out, and I'm just going to put those at the top.
It's not really going to make that much of a
The
difference.
temps looks like they did go down 2 degrees. So that's curious, which makes sense because, again, I can feel it's blowing in my face right now. So if we put the panel back on, let's see, give it a few more minutes, see what happens. I think it'll be negligible anyways. Even if the temps do go up, I think it'll be negligible because this thing runs so cool anyways. I mean, less than 70 degrees Celsius under full load is absolutely insane. So it's been quite a few minutes of stress testing, and it capped out at like 72 max. That's the highest temperature that we saw over there. So, I mean, I would advise not covering the front panel with solid panels, but you know, if you do, it's not the end of the world, even under a stress test. So still very impressive for such a small box. All right, so what about if you have no side panel on here? So all the panels are off. We've been running for quite some time, and we're at 67.8. So again, a negligible difference.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because the power supply
that's some framework as a company overall. I kind of want one of their laptops. As a company, I don't see any issues. I haven't used any of their laptops personally. I have no complaints about them. I have friends that have bought their stuff and says they like it.
This is clearly an amazing device.
I just personally haven't bought them. Not that I have any issue with them. It's just I go primarily with Linux-focused companies like Tuxedo, System 76. Nova Custom,
the less reliance they
but
have
I wouldn't
on
be opposed to like getting this unit.
Cloud-based AI. The problem, as always with early adoption of new tech, is the price. But even with that price, it's still one of the most affordable and effective consumer-grade options for running LLMs and other AI workloads locally. And if you are in the market for a portable AI-capable machine that can also play any game you throw at it, you'd be stupid to not choose this over the others, and it truly pains me to have to ship this press kit back to Framework. A process I conveniently recorded just in case something happens to it in transit.
So if you were to get this as like a multi-use machine, I don't see the issue with it. If you were to get that as a multi-use machine, like you were doing LLM work and you were doing general purpose, like you would use this as a general overall machine, I think that's a good value. But looking into it, if you're specifically doing LLM work, I wanted to compare it to the NVIDIA DGX Spark because that is the closest thing it compares to. Now, for reference here, the NVIDIA DGX Spark is about $4,000. So it's almost twice the cost. But with that being said, while we were doing the video and you saw me not chatting much, I was looking up the specs to compare it. So the Ryzen AI Max Plus 396 is a 16-core Zen 5 CPU up to 5.1 gigahertz. The GPU integrated RDNA 3.5, 40 compute units, basically a Radeon 8060S, up to 59 teraflops of floating precision 16 when fully boosted, so FP16. The NPU, neural processing, is about 50 AI trillion operations per second. Part of the, so it can do about 126 trillion operations per second with the CPU, GPU, and NPU all combined. All right. About 128 gigabytes of memory, LPDDR5X 8000, with up to 96 gigabytes mappable as GPU VRAM, 112 in the Linux side. Memory bandwidth is about 212 gigabits per second measured, but theoretically can do 256, 45 to 120 watts for the APU. Whereas the NVIDIA is a single GB10 Grace Blackwell 20 ARM CPU plus Blackwell GPU on one package. Now, this is where it's really different. So, the AMD is advertising about 126 trillion operations per second with the CPU, GPU, and NPU all combined, whereas the NVIDIA is advertising about 1 petaflop of FP4 performance. So, there's no one-to-one comparison of this. However, the NVIDIA will support models up to 200 billion parameters in low precision and about 70 billion for higher precision. About 273 gigabit per second quoted for the memory, so it's using the same memory but supposedly get higher numbers. The performance envelope, you get a little bit more power usage. The other advantage is that the NVIDIA DGX Spark comes with a 10 gigabit NIC built in, so you get 10 gigabit networking. Do you know what the live schedule will look like for Thanksgiving week? I'll probably still be doing Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. I may do an additional day on a Friday. We'll see. It depends on what projects and stuff I have hanging around. I'm not planning to go out of town or anything. We'll figure that out closer to the time. I may do a movie night that week as well in the Discord. Okay, so here is... Okay, so the DGX is able to do a lot bigger models. So 200 billion parameters in heavily quantized FP4, about 70 billion models for fine-tuning and mixed low precision, but the Ryzen can do 7 billion to 13 billion models absolutely fine, 34B and 70B quantized models with careful tuning. The bandwidth is just a little bit slower than a discrete HBM GPU. Spark definitely has the edge. Yeah. So, if money's no object, still get the NVIDIA DGX Spark. But if you're looking for an all-around machine, the Ryzen AI 395 Plus Max is the better choice. So that's what it comes down to. Are you going live on Friday? Not this Friday, but maybe the week of Thanksgiving Friday. Maybe. We'll see. Debating. Can you show 13? Show 13 what? Like 13 reasons why? Pinky swear. I don't know about that. Lightings make a difference. But yeah, so that 395 plus from AMD, for the money, I think it's worth it. But for what you're doing with it, I mean, if you're gonna spend that money on a box, I would probably tell you to go build a computer still. But if you're doing an all-around, I need an easy-to-use machine that can be supported, all that, it's not a bad choice. Is that mix by JLab? I don't remember who I bought this mix from years ago. I bought a bunch of beats exclusively off a few artists. Somewhere. Can I host a basic server for $50 a month? Yeah. You can totally host it for even less than that. You can go to DigitalOcean and get them very cheap. Linode or Hostinger. I'd probably use DigitalOcean, but if given the two... Well, I don't know what Linode is like since Akamai bought them out. Probably can't be that bad, but Linode used to be the bomb for, like, open source support and everything. They're in my Lux right now. I love them. Oh. Wait, am I getting... Hold on. For some reason... Oh. The TikTok went to the wrong... For some reason, the Chromium I had monitoring all the chats and everything went to the wrong streamer for a second. Oh, that's fun. But yeah, you can host a basic server for about $50 a month, no problem. You can go to DigitalOcean. That's actually who I recommend for a lot of things. I should really get the affiliate link up for them. It's been a while. I was gonna potentially host some things up with them. They're pretty cost effective for things, so you can look. You can use a... Okay, they got some new stuff since I was here. But app platform, functions, Kubernetes. They've got a little AI platform. The droplets are what you're looking at if you're doing basic server needs. So you can get like a little half a gig 1V CPU setup for $4 a month, 1 gig setup for $6 a month. So they're pretty cost effective. And the other cool thing about them is you see how they charge per hour? So you can literally spin them up just for as long as you need and then shut it down. You don't have to pay for the full month. You just pay for the hours that you are actually using it. So it's great to build and tear down. Just remember, if you shut it down but you haven't destroyed it, you're still paying for that usage. They have plenty of flexible options. You can get like a premium CPU option over here. Regular is just giving you a balance, whereas, yeah. So you can get like premium Intel, AMD. You can get CPU optimized ones. The CPU optimized ones obviously have more expense. You can get general purpose ones, memory optimized ones, storage optimized. I used them for many years for my tinkering in my lab. I haven't used them in a few years, not because I have any issues with them. It's just, I moved a lot of my stuff local, but I might start using them again. If I can terraform in. If I can terraform in, I will totally start using their stuff again. But I was also looking at using AWS. But I may, you know, go with them because, AWS is an arm and a leg in terms of pricing, I will be honest with you. But I have been looking at trying to do some Kubernetes stuff. Because I want to, move, all of my, Docker stuff to Kubernetes stacks. I think it'll be great. I got an NVIDIA H100 GPU for... Okay, I'm trying to see... If you do $3.40, I'm just trying to do some math here. Because those H100s are definitely beefy. 340 times 24 times 30. It's not too bad. I mean, definitely not money I can throw at it, but that's not too bad. But yeah, basic, I'm gonna have to look at this, because I do eventually want to move all of my stuff into the cloud. Basic at $12 a month a node. Well, that's per node. I'd need like 5 nodes. I may stick with my Raspberry Pis for now, but I wonder if there's a way I could load balance it outside the setup. I think it'd be interesting if there's a way that I could do like a balance of a load between on-site, off-site, because essentially what I'm trying to do is I want to get Kubernetes set up. Essentially what that is I can have Docker with load balancing and ability to have more control around it and resiliency. So right now what I'm doing is all of my bots that you've seen me run, I've Dockerized them. Now imagine you take that Docker and you have it on multiple nodes. So imagine I'm still wrapping my head around Kubernetes, but my understanding is if I can have 2 control nodes, 3 worker nodes, the control node basically would then have failover between the 2. So those are the ones controlling everything. So I can always have one update while the other one takes over, and then the other one can update, and then you have 2 back into HA mode. 3 workers, so that way I can always, have the ability that, let's say I need to do an update to the service, and I deploy a new Docker. Well, while one node is being taken down to update that Docker, the other ones stay in place. Then when it finishes, the other one goes down, updates. So basically you have a complete resilience there. I never would have to have my Discord bot offline or anything. That's honestly what I'm looking at doing before I have my bot in the Discord take over control. Because essentially what I want to do is I want to have an LLM server that my bot can run through for moderation purposes. So if somebody is actually using slurs, or they're being extremely harassing or something like that, it could then throw flags, warnings, something like that, in a way better than Me6 and a lot of these other moderation bots. Maybe it could even give a customized, hey, how are you doing greeting when you join the server. It could actually do processing to see if you are a bot yourself. Eventually, I plan to get rid of Me6 entirely in my Discord and have my own bot. And then what I plan to do is build a moderation bot for my Matrix server to do all those things as well. So I will have my self-hosted Matrix server, which you all can join. The links are in the bio, just the same as the Discord. And you can have all those things. I think that'd be really cool. And I think even a small 7B or 13B model would be more than enough for Discord to operate on. Because nobody's really sending like massive messages. And if you do, I could have an auto moderation feature that if wall of text, delete, warn, hey, no walls of text. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be interesting. And then of course, once I figure all this work out, I'm gonna open source it. I've already open sourced my Discord bot as it is. Now, what I haven't decided is if Penguin Overlord, the bot that I've made for Discord, is going to do the moderation features as well, or I might split them. I will cross that bridge with moderation once I get to the Kubernetes cluster. I have no idea why the lighting on the camera keeps raising and lowering. Is it just I don't have enough light? Maybe. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting as we get all of my LLM work together over time. Have my own self-hosted LLM, do the processing, have that built into some kind of automation to protect the server. I think that'll be really cool. It'll be interesting, because I'm still wrapping my head around how to build Discord bots and how they function and all of that stuff. I'm already removing a lot of Me6 features. So as you, if you haven't paid attention even in the Discord, I already had it stop doing the Twitch alerts. I'm running it on BoonTube Demon. I've already had it stop doing all the other content alerts. The next thing I'm going to have it do with my other bot is I'm probably going to build Threadwalker, which is going to go for my Mastodon and Blue Sky posts, post those into the Discord in their own channel. There's a lot of interesting things coming, to say the least. But I got to build this LLM server. Hopefully I'll have some of it built tonight, tomorrow. And then we're going to get the logging server built up also, hopefully this week. Now that I confirm this hardware works. So we'll have Grafana, InfluxDB, Telegraph, and Prometheus on this guy, which is going to pull all the logs in from my firewall and my switches and my access points, as well as other things like the LLM server, processing, all of that. This is going to have dashboards. So basically, this is going to be my SIEM, my system information and event monitoring tool. Once I start gathering enough data off of this guy, there's the potential that I could then actually make a SOAR, Security Orchestrated Automated Response, system based off the data that's found on here, that if certain conditions happen, security protocols automatically engage. I'd probably do that off of N8n. N8n is more of an automation workflow that can be used for security automations. But that's going to be an interesting thing to play with. Now, I will probably get to N8n once I build the TTS server, the text-to-speech server, because the text-to-speech is going to overall have less compute that it's going to be doing. So N8n probably is going to be better placed on there, because there's going to be 3 different boxes. 2 that I'm building, 1 that's going to be a spare computer, this little guy, and we should be good from there. So it'll be interesting over the next few weeks what projects we have. Of course, I still have to build the MQTT for the Meshtastic stuff. But yeah, there'll be lots of interesting projects. I've got lots of YouTube videos coming along the way, and subsequently out of that, plenty of TikTok clips coming from those YouTube videos. So, thank you all for joining me. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. The links are in bio. Otherwise, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, Mastodon. And of course, we have Discord and Matrix as well. Links are in bio for all of you if you don't see them in the chat right now. Thank you all for joining me. I love all y'all. Stay safe and happy hacking. Stick around for the raid if you're over on Twitch. But otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow night. We got more videos to go through. But happy hacking. Love y'all.